hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR. Frequency Radio.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You're listening to the Revolutionary Radio Project with your host, Rob Skiba.
All I'm offering is the truth.
Hello and welcome to the Revolutionary Radio Project. I am your host, Rob Skiba. And tonight, I think I'm going to do open lines tonight. I haven't done that. I don't think I've ever done that actually here on Truth Frequency Radio. I used to do that sometimes on my Blog Talk radio show, but I'm going to give it a shot tonight. I have not used the system here for the call-ins in the past, so bear with me if we have a little bit of glitches every now and then. But the call-in number is 866-378-7884. That's 866-378-7884. And before we begin, go whatever direction we end up going in this evening, I feel like I owe many of you an apology. As some of you may have noticed, on August 16th, I basically shut down my website, testingtheglobe.com. If you went there sometime between August 16th and I believe probably the 19th or 20th maybe, you saw that I had posted only the YouTube video of the Phil Collins song, I Don't Care Anymore, because that's exactly the way I was feeling at the time when I did that. And I had a brief, frustrated commentary listed below it, and I posted that on every page. Essentially, I was sick of everything, but I got to explain kind of why I felt that way. If you have not experienced it yet, I'll tell you, as soon as you bring up the subject of the flat earth, this particular subject, like no other, it tends to bring out the absolute worst in people. I mean, really, people just completely go psycho right in front of you. And it's like, why? What's the big deal? I mean, let's have a discussion. I mean, where's the harm in that? You know, if it's not flat, so what? We had fun having the discussion. If it is flat, well, you learned something. Cool, you know? But why do people have to go completely psycho? I don't understand it. I mean, it brings out the absolute worst in people. And since day one, this quest for truth has brought us, meaning my wife and I, nothing but pain and significant damage, emotionally, spiritually, and especially financially. The attacks have been just relentless on Facebook, on YouTube. Some people wonder why I shut off my comments on the YouTube videos. Well, hello. I mean, how much can you take, you know? So I'm leaving my comments open for all of my other non-Flat Earth related videos. But I mean, people are just getting crazy. And it was blowing up into all these big fights and people just going nuts on each other. So all the videos that I have online for Flat Earth, now I understand why Mark Sargent, some of these other guys, they do the same thing. And Josh Peck too. He's like, you know, dude, you got to just shut this stuff off, because my personality, I'm drawn into it. You know, you start swinging at me, I might turn the other cheek, but if you hit that one, you know, somebody's going down. I'm going to jump in the fight. That's my personality. And when you're just constantly doing that, it wears on you. So don't expect the comments to ever be on for my YouTube videos, at least on this subject. I am definitely keeping the comments off. But I mean, this type of reaction, it tells me there must be something to it. I mean, why else would the enemy? I mean, we know we wrestle not against flesh and blood, although we have to deal with flesh and blood, but our real battles with principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high places. So why would the enemy be responding this way so intensely unless there's something to it? I mean, if you've followed me for the last few years, you know I have covered no shortage of controversial subjects. I've covered many topics that are, some would consider taboo, but none has even come close to bringing the kind of resistance that this particular subject has. So the day I shut my website down, I was really feeling like I never should have even gone down this rabbit hole in the first place. And, honestly, I'd had enough. But I realized that was selfish of me. I know that many people have actually come to rely on my website for their own quest for truth, and they've been passing it along to others and have been going through it themselves. And it's been sort of a launch point for many people to find the works of other people. I had several links and videos and stuff there's quite a number of people actually out there now looking into this, and I try to make all those resources available. So it was sort of a hub for people, and me taking it down like I did, I got to apologize for that. So I'm sorry, that was selfish of me. But the haters have been so vocal that I actually forgot how many supporters we have. And, let me just say this, not just on this subject, but any subject. I mean, if you have a friend or somebody that you follow their research, I mean, if you like a particular researcher, whoever it is, no matter what the subject is, if they're out there on the front line doing this kind of research, I mean, there's not a lot of us out there. I mean, just how many people are there that can dedicate pretty much their entire day, just about every day, to doing research? Most people have 9-to-5 jobs and they don't have the time to do that kind of research, but there's a handful of us out there that this is our full-time job. Our full-time job is doing research all day long and producing content and writing books and things of that nature. And you know what? They need to hear from you. The haters tend to be in the minority when you really get down to it. There may be, let's say, 100 people that are either on board or excited about whatever you're talking about, or just impartial or whatever. And there may be 10 people out there that are very vocal haters. But if that's all the researcher ever hears is the 10 very vocal haters, you sit back and you start questioning yourself. You start saying, what am I doing here? Am I just wasting my time? What's going on? I mean, is it worth it? So I just want to encourage you to encourage whoever it is that you're listening to, that's sowing into your life in some way through their diligent research. The work that they're doing, they need to hear from you, because the haters have no problem speaking up. So if you are into whatever your favorite researchers digging up and talking about and writing about and speaking about, doing YouTube videos about, just do them a favor, send them an email and encourage them. I know that I've got a lot of supporters out there, and I just want to publicly thank you for your love and support. I tell you what, when I pulled the website down and just said, screw everybody, I'm done with everything, screw you, I don't care anymore. There was a lot of you that wrote very encouraging emails to me. And I tell you, it's like oxygen. So, thank you. When I shut the site down, many people reached out to me. They shared how much my own quest and understanding the nature of our world and its place in the cosmos, it meant a lot to them. They shared with me how many people's lives have actually been impacted in a positive way as a result of this quest. They asked me not to grow weary in well-doing, and they encouraged me not to give up. And while I may still be uncertain concerning some of the matters covered on this site, and while we certainly had to endure much negativity along the way, I do have to remind myself that one changed life makes it worth it all. And we've certainly had more than one. So I just have to keep that in mind. But let me just address one more thing here regarding the some of the things that I'm still uncertain about. Okay. A lot of people are really frustrated with me because I won't commit on this yet. And you've heard me say that the Bible absolutely, positively, no questions asked, absolutely tells us that we're in a still flat, basically a snow globe, set on pillars, unmovable, with the sun and moon and stars inside the dome. The scriptures cannot be more clear. And I put, there's a whole section on the website called The Bible and the Still Flat Earth that talks about that. And yet everybody in their talking parrot, Isaiah 40:22, Isaiah 40:22. Everybody wants to throw Isaiah 40:22. Circle means circle, guys. Circle. I'll tell you what. Go on Google. That's Google, Google.com. Type in circle. I'll wait. Go ahead and do it now. Type in circle. And then hit images. Now study what you see closely. Especially you King James only people out there. I love you King James only people. I love you guys. And you know, and let me just say this. I love Kent Hovind, too. I absolutely love the guy. He had a profound impact on my life. In fact, I wrote to him in prison and dedicated my books to him, sent him a few of my books and said, hey, man, you know, you may not agree with everything that's in these books, but it's because, in a large part, it's because of you that I'm even doing what I'm doing now. And I tried to encourage him and prayed for him and, you know, was behind all the efforts that I could get behind to, you know, see what we can do to get him out. And, you know, now that he's out, everybody's slamming him with flat earth stuff. And you know what? You know, let the guy, you know, let him get there on his own or whatever. I know he's put out some videos right now saying, you know, this is not a good idea. And in fact, here's a little clip right here regarding what he had to say about it.
I think, A, I don't believe this flat earth stuff at all. B, I think it would be a real deterrent to the gospel for somebody to go around and start preaching that now, that the earth is flat. I say, I'm sorry, you're absolutely wrong, and that would be a silly distraction from the gospel. Don't teach that.
And I'm going to address that comment right there in a minute. But, you know, here this guy gets out of prison, you know, and people are just slamming him with emails, flat earth, and you say you believe the Bible and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I got to say, you know, when he came through town teaching his evolution series, you know, creation, and I bought all 12 of his VHS tapes and dubbed them to audio tape, and I would listen to him religiously in my car, practically had him memorized. Love the guy, but he was so skilled at basically destroying the public textbooks, saying, you know, and revealing them for the frauds that they were, and destroying evolution. And yet, when it comes to the shape of the Earth and its place in nature of it in the cosmos, he goes and says that, you know, we've all seen the textbooks, we've seen the pictures in textbooks. I'm like, you mean the same ones you spent your entire ministry refuting? You know, but you know, I don't want to talk bad about him. I love Kent Hovind, but I disagree with him regarding this particular issue as it pertains to the Bible. And he's a King James only type. And I'm like, all right, dude, go read Isaiah. The same guy who wrote about the circle of the earth, Isaiah 40:22. In Isaiah 22:18, he wrote, in the King James, I will toss you like a ball. Okay, so you just did the little Google exercise a minute ago, right? You guys went to Google, you typed in circle, you clicked on images, right? And you studied what you saw, right? Okay, now in the search window, Google ball and click go. Okay, hit enter and look closely at what you see there. Now, if you have two browser windows open, have one open in Google Circle and one open in Google Ball. Click images, study them closely. There is a difference. And Isaiah knew the difference. So especially if you're a King James only guy, welcome to the Flat Earth Society. Okay? You're going to have to deal with it. And you've heard me talk about this. You've heard me say, I know the Bible says this. So what's your deal? Do you believe that the earth is flat? Well, I can tell you I believe the Bible absolutely tells me that it is flat. But the same Bible also tells me in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 to prove all things. And I'm going to suggest to you that all means all. And therefore, the Bible's on the table for evaluation also. So if the Bible's sitting here on the table and it's part of all, I'm going to try to prove it. That's where I am with this whole situation. I have proven to myself in no uncertain terms what the text says, and I can go ahead and believe that, but who cares what I believe? Who cares what you believe? We can believe whatever we want to believe. That doesn't mean it's true. So the task at hand, and the reason why I've created this website in the first place, testingtheglobe.com, is to test this, to prove this. That's what it's all about for me. And until I can really prove what the text says to me, and what the text says, I can believe it, but I'm trying to prove it. And that's where I'm at right now with this whole thing. And, those of you who can, the disciples who believed and did not see, great. Blessed are those who believe and who have not seen, right? But some of us are going to have to continue on the process of proving all things. And so that's what I'm trying to do right now. Now, Kent says that this is a big mistake. We shouldn't be talking about this. This is a deterrent. And you've probably heard this if you've been on Facebook or whatever, people going crazy on you saying, there's way more important things than this to be talking about. Why are we talking about this? Especially, September is supposedly the end of the world, whatever, September 23rd, and all hell's going to break loose, and, we're all going to be in FEMA camps and blah, 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 and earthquakes and nuclear, whatever. Comets hitting us, popes everywhere. Who cares? Everything's supposed to fall apart next month. Here it is, August 26th, and by this time next month, everything's going to hit the fan. You know what? Maybe it will. But this is the task that I have been put on right now. This is the one I've been placed on. You may be on a different task. And a while back, I wrote a Facebook note called Throwing Rocks in Glass Houses. And I'm just going to go ahead and read this. I posted this actually back on June 15th. People are all up in arms about this flat earth subject because they say it's causing division and strife. Okay, please show me a few examples from Scripture where truth didn't cause some sort of uproar. I mean, nearly every prophet in the Bible was murdered because they told the truth. Look at what happened to Yeshua and his disciples for simply telling the truth. Truth almost always causes trouble. Because most don't ever want to hear it. Now, I'm not saying that flat earth is the truth, but as we are only on a quest to find out if it is or not, testing all things just as the scriptures say we should, the same nonsense is manifesting as what happens when you tell them that Xmas and Ishtar Day have nothing whatsoever to do with our Savior. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that they've been practicing lies most of their lives. This subject is generating similar responses. Only with this deal, it's ramped up several notches on the psychosis meter. So much so that the very mention of simply wanting to explore the possibilities absolutely sends people through the roof with amazing expressions of substantial cognitive dissonance combined with healthy doses of accusation, ridicule, mocking, and slander. Now people are coming to my wall on Facebook, sending me emails and posting comments on my YouTube channels saying stuff like, how is this flat earth stuff leading anyone closer to the Lord? This is not important. The whole world is going to hell and you're talking about this? while making all sorts of ridiculous accusations about how I should be out caring for the sick and reaching a loss and freaking out about ISIS and Jade Helm and all of the impending doom allegedly coming in September like they are, instead of having these flat earth discussions. The accusations are, of course, coming from people who are here throwing stones rather than actually doing what they are accusing me of not doing. Imagine the irony. Beyond that, those of you lobbing accusations, you are exceptionally presumptuous. First of all, we care for the sick almost daily over here. And I'm gonna pause right there and fill you guys in on a little bit of what led to everything just piling up on us. Because I think it's important that you know. More than my own issues, I jacked up my back 3 weeks ago. I did something to it, and I've had pretty severe sciatica ever since. And boy, I'll tell you what, when you have sciatica, everything hurts. Yeah, those little muscles in the back there, it seems like everything you do triggers them. So, I mean, I've been basically to the point where I can stand and I can lay down. That's about it. Sitting is a new adventure in pain, and getting back up after sitting is brutal. Driving in a car, I mean, it's just horrible. So, not only was I dealing with all the emotional flack and everybody throwing stuff my way, but my back was killing me. But in the meantime, apart from my issues, my poor wife has been through hell and back several times, actually. She's had several members of her family go through some very difficult things. One of them led her to actually having to go out to California, where she literally had to sleep beside her loved one on a cot for 3 weeks in a hospital. And if she didn't do that, I'll tell you what, the staff, the hospital staff, they probably would have killed my son's grandfather through various forms of negligence. And, one thing I've learned is if you or anyone you love ever has to go to the hospital, you better make darn sure you've got somebody in there fighting for you or fighting for them, because just crazy stuff happens. And if there's not somebody there paying attention, they're killing people in hospitals. I know they're doing a lot of good in hospitals too. I don't mean to do a pendulum swing and, put a broad stroke across the whole thing, but you really got to stay on top of stuff. And my poor wife, after already dealing with stuff before that happened, went out there, spent 3 weeks out in California with that situation, and then came back and just got slammed. Her dad's health had taken a turn for the worse. About a year and a half actually ago, he was told that he only had 3 months to live. And Sheila's like, no, I'm not going to accept that diagnosis. She took him out of the hospital, brought him into our house, and she literally nursed him back to health. I mean, and honestly, a good quality of life for nearly 2 years. They told her, if he's still walking in 3 months, you need to write a book, blah, blah, blah. They're really rude about it when she was taking him out. And she's, through change of diet and essential oils and loving and nurturing him and whatnot, gave him a good quality of life for nearly 2 years. But for whatever reason, he relapsed. And my poor wife, after dealing with 3 other people in the family with various health crisis situations, this was the worst one of them all. And if you've been following our posts on Facebook, you know that we ended up having to have hospice set up in our home. And for nearly 2 weeks, we got people out here accusing us, well, we should be out there caring for the sick. You know what? That's exactly what we were doing. It's exactly what we were doing in our home. And with the hospice set up for almost 2 weeks, round-the-clock stress, caring for her dad, and sadly, this past Saturday, he passed away. So, this has been an extremely brutal time for us. And people out there lobbying these accusations, you don't have a freaking clue what you're talking about. All right? You don't. And so unless you have a clue what you're talking about, you might as well shut up. You shouldn't be posting stuff like that. And I'm not just talking about our situation. There are lots of people out there that you guys, not some of you, most of you guys are probably, this doesn't apply to you. But those of you out there, you know who you are. It does apply to you. And let me just say, I absolutely love my wife. She's the most amazing woman with the strongest spirit and the biggest heart I've ever seen. And watching her go through all of that,
The Rundown live with Mike and Kristen, Monday through Thursday on Truth Frequency Radio.
And we're back on the Revolutionary Radio Project. I am your host, Rob Skiba, and I got cut off there right before the break. But anyway, I just want to publicly say I've got an amazing wife, and seeing her go through all that while barely being able to move myself, unable to do much of anything to help her, was killing me. And on top of that, this whole flat Earth deal is, like I said earlier, hasn't done us any favors. In fact, several of my family members, including Sheila at one point, was suggesting that I back off of it, as it was literally killing our ministry and hurting us emotionally and certainly financially. A ton of support just dried up, and sales of our other products were drying up because apparently word was going out that I'm a complete nut job and have lost my mind, apparently. So basically we had hit rock bottom, and I couldn't take it anymore. So, in that moment, I just said, screw everybody, I'm done. But let me continue with the note that I started to read earlier, because there's some things I really want you to understand about this particular subject. As far as the flat Earth subject goes, I had one girl write to me a couple of weeks ago telling me here on Facebook that she got saved as a result of this discussion. Today I received 2 more testimonies, and again, that was back on June 15th. A guy named Michael wrote, "Talking of people getting saved, the flat Earth discussion led my friend to salvation. He was the type of person that would sooner believe we were spawned by aliens in some genetic experiment to then evolve into what we are. But he said that as he was looking into flat Earth, it kept pointing him back to the scriptures and a creator. So he decided to finally give in after much resisting and do a little research on the Bible and such things. He has now accepted Yeshua as his savior and is studying the word to deprogram what he's picked up over the years. And believe me, I'd tried before to show Yeshua and Yahweh to him to no avail. Who would have thought that flat Earth would be what it took to show him the truth? His conversion is nothing short of a miracle. Only the Holy Spirit can change a man's heart so drastically. When I found out he accepted Yeshua, I was literally jumping up and down because I saw a miracle. Keep your chin up, Rob, even if the enemy is swinging. Remember that the enemy will always destroy the good and what is making a difference for Yahweh's kingdom. If it's any help, it was due to yours and Douglas Hamp's work that I was brought back into fellowship with our Savior, Yeshua, last year. And it was the flat Earth topic that led one of my die-hard atheist friends to Yeshua. You and your family will be in my prayers. May Yahweh bless you, Rob." Another guy named Anthony wrote to me, "I have a praise report. There's a friend I have been witnessing and praying for years for him. He grew up with SRA, I guess satanic ritual abuse. Out of all the subjects on realities we talk about, this flat Earth subject has got him in the Word, and I see him coming closer to Jesus. Please keep him in prayer. Whatever God chooses to use to bring people closer, who am I to argue?" A couple of days ago, Sheila and I had dinner over some friend's house. While we were there, of course, this discussion came up, and the dialogue went on for nearly 4 hours. When it was over, my friend says to me, "This whole idea of an enclosed flat Earth makes me feel much more special to God than I think anything I've ever heard. And I have had several very similar testimonies come in from others here on Facebook in the past 2 weeks as a result of this topic. Again, this is back in June, but it has only increased since then. I added a few more here to this note fairly recently. A woman named Ashley said, I personally know 3 non-believers that have given their life to Yahuwah over this very topic. Huge, huge blessing. Furthermore, I have received many responses, such as this one from a person named Will. He says, Rob Skiba, what you have been doing here really has me excited. I find myself digging into Scripture with an excitement I haven't had in years. I, too, never thought I would be questioning the shape of our planet, or plane, of our plane, and then you put in parentheses T. Keep up the great work. It is opening my eyes and brings to mind, happy is the man who finds wisdom and the man who gains understanding, Proverbs 3:13. And this is from another woman named Grace. She says, God has been ministering to me through this flat earth thing on many deep levels as I go through hell on earth in my life. It has been a healing part of my daily anguish. Don't judge what God can use to love on someone. And this one from someone named Petra. This person says, I want to thank you again for all your work. It is changing lives, including mine. So all of you out there who would rather ridicule, mock, and judge, you need to keep in mind what I just read. Dozens of testimonies have come to me in recent weeks of people either getting saved or coming closer to Yahuwah through this dialogue. I'm not trying to compare fruit baskets here, nor am I writing or talking about this to boast. But I do have to wonder how many testimonies like this you mockers have received in the past few weeks. You see, whether the earth is flat or a ball is really irrelevant. Anything that causes people to dig deeper into Yahuwah's word is a good thing, because that's where he meets those who are searching for him. My friend Brandon said, it was there in the Bible all along, and we read it multiple times, but did not care to put 2 and 2 together. That's the power of indoctrination, to blind even when you see. Indeed, that is the true power of indoctrination, to blind us to what is right in front of us, but which we cannot see. This is why Paul told us to test or prove all things. 1 Thessalonians 5:21. You don't know what Yahuwah is doing through this quest for truth, and neither do I. But judging from what I just said here, one way or another, Yahuwah is clearly in this and is doing something big in the hearts and minds of many, many people. Thus, I say all the above for this reason. Please be careful about throwing rocks in glass houses. That's how I concluded that note. And I was going to read some more here, but I'm going to get ready to open up the phone lines. I've got like 4 pages of really powerful testimonies that came in during that time when I had shut everything down. But one of them, I'm going to read one here because this one really hit me. Somebody named Dominic wrote to me, sent me an email. It says, about 4 or 5 months ago, I heard someone mention flat earth and I rolled my eyes. I then heard it every single day, at least once, till I said, what are these morons talking about? And looked into it for myself. I really don't have to tell you where that led, do I? The more I looked, the worse it became. And like you, I still have things I can't explain with the flat earth, but there are far, far less problems with flat earth than the globe. And the problems aren't something that would make me say, oh yeah, of course we're on a ball. They just haven't been answered yet. So now I have a big problem. And now if it's true, I have to rethink everything. Everything. I won't go into the whole journey, but it included, as a whole, a spiritual and religious revamping. I wouldn't say that beforehand I was a militant atheist, but close enough that it didn't matter. This person was an atheist, okay? I would have stood in front of you and said that there was no God and defended that standpoint. How could there be? But now, ... No, that had to be revisited too. Like flat earth, I still have questions, and like the globe, far less than there isn't any. Before flat earth, I would have quickly switched videos the second anything having to do with God was mentioned. That has now changed, and that brought me to you. I listened to your show and watched your videos and was like, wow, it's been here right in front of us this whole time. I actually found myself waiting and looking forward to your next video or your next show or your next article, etc. And then to find out that you bailed really messed with me. How could he? How could he have such conviction and belief and then walk away? How can he believe in a divine plan and purpose and step off a path that he was placed on? How strong could his faith be? And this, my friend, made me think that I was being deceived. Because I did question at first if this was a big psyop, and came to the conclusion most likely not, because it proves all the things they tried to crush, everything that is anathema to them. I saw your posting and thought, well, you didn't think it was going to be easy, did you? You were ushering in a new paradigm, for God's sake. You were shown this and have the means to show others. How can you throw in the towel? And if resistance to this isn't something you can weather, what will happen when the crap really hits the fan? Will your faith crumble when the true enemy shows his face? I can't say I know what you're going through, because we're all in different circumstances, but I do know how people look at me and what they must be thinking when I bring it up. But I tell them to take that look off their face, open your mind, and listen to my points without preconceived biases, and when I'm done, you can tell me I'm wrong because ... or you can never talk to me again if you like, because this is where our paths part. I have had people not talk to me since, and not because they could show me proof that I was wrong and wouldn't listen. Oh well. Sadly, they can never talk to me again, but it won't change the fact that the earth isn't what we've been led to believe. What it is still open to debate, but a globe it's not. In a nutshell, I was very disappointed in me, Rob. But today, I hear that you're back. Nice. And yes, the resistance that you are receiving can only mean we/you are onto something. If we weren't, why fight us? Just say, do your research, you wingnuts, and let us know when you come to your senses once again. But no, we are facing open opposition and hostility. People have put many theories about numerous subjects on the table in the past few years, and none have challenged so aggressively. Yes, we know we are going to prove it somehow, some way, and let as many people as we can know along the way. We are not here by chance, some cosmic accident, or a monkey's uncle. And that being true, we have a purpose and a moral obligation to others, this world, and its creator. Good to have you back, Rob. This is the very first time I have ever written these words to anyone. And he says, God, this is an atheist, former atheist, God grant you the strength to see this through and help fulfill his divine plan for us all. With the greatest respect, Dominic. And again, I don't want to take up the whole show doing this, but I received, especially for whatever reason, after I shut the site down, everybody started writing to me. And while I may not respond to all the emails, it's impossible for me to respond to all of them. I do try to read them all. So when you send stuff, even if I don't respond to you, know that I'm at least looking at it. If I open it up and it's like several pages long, I may mark it for reading later, and hopefully we'll get to it later. But I do make an effort of reading everything that comes in. But that's when I realized, I gotta get back in the fight. I got to get back into this, and there's I was getting so close on some things that I was about ready to publish before I shut everything down. That maybe that's why it all that's probably why all the attacks came. Because I got to tell you, I came real close, and I may still put a post up someday that says the day NASA made me a flat earther. Because when NASA put out, and they've been like going crazy the last 2 months. First of all, cleaning up messes everywhere, as there's a bunch of researchers out there that have been exposing NASA for the fraud that they are. And there's a series, if you haven't seen it yet on YouTube, unless it's been taken down, you can check and see if it's still up, called NASA Fake Images of Earth Smoking Gun Parts 1 through 5. NASA Fake Images of Earth Smoking Gun Parts 1 through 5. And this guy goes through a bunch of the NASA photo archives on their website and plays around in Photoshop with different levels and whatnot, and shows how they got crazy masks over them, and it's all fraudulent. And I've been in communication, sort of behind the scenes with Matt Boylan, and he was a former NASA realistic painter. He does photorealistic painting, and he's like, this is a painting. And there's so many pictures and videos out there that are so easy to show that what they're showing us is fraudulent. But the one that was the moment that NASA shot themselves in the foot, boom, was just recently when they put out that video showing the Earth from about 1.5 million miles away, allegedly, satellite over 1 million miles away, looking towards the Earth, and the moon goes in front of the Earth. If you haven't seen that, look it up. That one right there is the video that NASA's basically saying, you know what, we're throwing in the towel ourselves. We're full of crap and we know it, and we're just going to tell you, yep, we're full of crap. See if you can figure it out. Because when the moon goes in front of the Earth, okay, first of all, the dark side of the moon should have been very bright because the Earth was fully illuminated, which means the sun was behind the satellite camera, okay? Behind the satellite, shining directly on the Earth. The whole Earth is illuminated. And then the moon comes out, into the frame and crosses in front of the Earth, but the moon's not very bright. It's brighter than that on the night sky. Just go outside and look at the moon right now. Moon was dark. That was the first cue something's not right. Secondly, as the moon is between the sun and the Earth and the camera, and it goes across the Earth, no shadow. There's no shadow. There should be a shadow on the Earth. Because if you got a moon going like this right in front of the sun, well, that's called a solar eclipse. And a solar eclipse is basically when there's a shadow on the Earth because the moon is obscuring the sun. Yet there's no shadow anywhere here as the moon is going by. No shadow. It says right here, these images were taken between 3:50 p.m. and 8:45 p.m. EDT on July 16th, showing the moon moving over the Pacific Ocean near North America. The North Pole is in the upper left corner of the image, reflecting the orbital tilt of the Earth from the vantage point of the spacecraft. Okay, so this is telling you from 3:50 to 8:45 p.m., basically for 5 hours. That's what this animation, this is a time lapse. It's still frames put together to create an animated GIF showing essentially 5 hours worth of the Earth's alleged rotation. In 5 hours, folks, do you see any clouds changing, morphing, dissipating? I talked about this before in my website, testingtheglobe.com. I think it was in where was it? I think it was in the opening statements. And testingtheglobe.com in the opening statements, I showed you a bunch of stuff dealing with the Earth, and I showed you this video of the Earth taken on December 11th, 1990 by the Galileo space probe. And once again, no clouds moving. This is a 25-hour time lapse. This is showing the Earth moving in 25 hours. Now, some people have said there is some movement in the clouds, and this apparent low-res video is not really showing it. But even if there is slight movement in 25 hours, really, come on. I could take my camera and go set it up outside right now for 1 hour, and you're going to see all kinds of clouds doing crazy stuff. Clouds showing up, clouds moving, clouds dissipating and disappearing. Okay, now when you go back to this one, this is a pretty good picture, pretty high res. No clouds are changing in 5 hours. Now you got, look at this spiral thunderstorm right here, just west of Mexico. Okay, that should be moving. It's not. It's not spinning. That should be spinning 5 hours. It's not. This formation here, this isn't, nothing's changing. Now, some people are trying to show me that they are changing, but what they're mistaking is the angle at which you're looking at it. Well, see, the cloud looks different here. Well, that's because it's just rotated past you. It's not moving, though. None of these clouds are moving. Really? Okay, here's time lapse of like an hour or two. Clouds move. And yet every time NASA shows us a spinning Earth, the clouds never move. They don't change. They don't arrive. They don't dissipate. Nothing. So, okay, moon going by, the sun's behind the camera, and yet there's no shadow. There's no solar eclipse, no shadow on the Earth of the moon going by, no clouds moving. But this is what really got me. The camera is about 1 million miles away, looking toward the Earth, and the moon comes between the camera and the Earth, and it's about 25% or so the size of the Earth. Okay, pause that picture, pause that image, stare at it. The same way I asked you guys to stare at the word circle and the word ball on Google. If you can find this video, when the moon gets right in between the camera and the Earth, pause it, stare at it, and see what you can figure out is wrong with it. Because I'll tell you, the first thing that popped out to me was, if that's the way the real scale is, from 1 million miles away on the other side of the moon, looking toward the Earth, then if you're standing on the moon and you're going to take a picture of the Earth will be covering the entire sky. You'll be looking at blue water and entire continents. You will not be able to see black anywhere in the sky. Everywhere you look, you'll be seeing the Earth, which basically means every single picture you have ever seen allegedly taken on the moon of the Earth is total crap. They just exposed themselves with this most recent high-tech camera, high-tech satellite, 21st century technology, just exposed the entire Apollo space program as completely and utterly bogus. And if that's the case, and I'm going to just tell you guys to go search it out, because I know a bunch of you will. I've got a bunch of other stuff I got to deal with right now, so but I'm going to dive into it as well. Okay, if that's the case, then we're talking about treason. Let's call it for what it is. That means they have defrauded the American public of billions of dollars. Billions.
Billion, trillions, million, billion, million, million, billion, million, million, millions, billions,
of dollars. They have stolen from the American public. That's money that could have been used to feed the hungry, house the homeless, clothe people, right? We should be able to end starvation, at least in our country. You want to talk about free health care for everybody? Well, there you go. They wasted billions of dollars on a fraud, and NASA proved it to you. They proved it to you with this latest picture. So, I'm getting to the point where I'm like, yep, you know what? Here's the video that NASA made me a flat earther, because they're telling you point blank that they're full of crap. And you got other people out there doing an apologetic on this thing, right? This is TheVerge.com, says that moon and Earth GIF is totally real, debunking Twitter's conspiracy theories. All right. So this is a fairly recent article. It came out August 12th. Last week, NASA gave us a small cosmic gift, releasing a short gift of the moon passing in front of Earth. The gift was made from a compilation of images taken by the Earth Polychromatic Imaging Camera, EPIC. It's an epic fail, on the Discover satellite, located 1 million miles from Earth. Discover is meant to observe Earth's climate from afar and gives us a view of our planetary system we don't often see. But some people just can't accept the good things in life. Many who saw the GIF immediately cried foul, saying they were certain the images were fake. And they got some Twitter comments here, people saying that it's Photoshop or whatnot. And the article says, to be fair, who can really blame them? We live in a Photoshop-manipulated world. People are constantly trying to trick us into thinking that floodwaters bring sharks to neighborhood streets, or that today is the day Marty McFly goes forward in time. It's October 21st, 2015. Never forget that. A healthy dose of skepticism is a valuable asset in an era like this. And they go on. You can read the rest of the article if you want. But this is what really got me. Is in the bottom here, it's talking about, somebody wrote here, this guy Carlos wrote, shouldn't Earth look way smaller since the distance between them is huge and the camera is closer to the moon? Sure, Discovery is closer to the moon than it is to Earth, but not by much. The moon is 238,900 miles away from Earth, but Discovery is a whopping 1 million miles away. The satellite is nearly 800,000 miles away from the moon when it passes in front of the planet. From that distance, it's almost like the Earth and the moon are right next to each other when Epic zooms in with its giant telephoto lens. Here are some photos that illustrate this. Okay, so they got a beach ball here and a miniature basketball and a camera set up. Okay, and they're saying, see, when the camera goes way back here and looks towards the moon, see, everything looks exactly right, just the way it is in the animated GIF of the moon going in front of the Earth. Excuse me, for this to be accurate, for this to be a real, true apologetic explanation, you would have to make the distance between these two. You'd have to have 30 beach ball distances between the last, or 29 beach ball distances between the last beach ball and the basketball. In other words, there should be 30 beach balls away for this to work, for this to be accurate. You should have the Earth as the final beach ball of 30 beach balls away from the basketball. Okay? This is a totally bogus attempt to debunk something. All right? And if you don't believe me, go outside and get yourself a beach ball and get yourself, I don't know, a ball that's, like this, comparable in size to you get this basic scale. Go look up the distance of between the Earth and the moon, and you'll see that it's 30 Earths, 30 Earth diameters away. Okay, so somebody's lying here. I've said it for a long time. I don't believe Apollo is true. I think Apollo is a big bunch of crap. But let's assume that Apollo is real, that it really did happen. Then all the pictures that we saw from Apollo, standing on, the Apollo astronauts standing on the moon, looking towards the Earth, they're fairly reasonably accurate in terms of the size of what it should look like 30 Earths away. So then that means this is a fraud. And the accompanying blue marble that came out just before this, and I'll tell you, it's the same exact 3D model that they're using for this, is that they use for the blue marble. And of course, if you flip the blue marble upside down, the clouds just so happen to spell sex. Yeah, I'm sure that's a coincidence. God did that. God must have did that. No, they're using 3D models. Okay, I'm going to do a whole thing on exposing the blue marbles because there's so much to show on that. Needless to say, somebody's lying in the space program. I'm going to say they're all lying. That are they, meaning the ones that are putting out these images. I don't think every single NASA employee is in on it, but whoever's feeding the stuff to the public, they're full of crap. Okay, and they're telling you with these images that that it's fraudulent. If this is the most high-tech imagery that we have right now, 21st century technology, and if this imagery is true, then everything that we saw from Apollo is fraudulent. And every single moon landing is fraudulent. And the billions and billions and billions of dollars that went into that, we need to demand back. Let's start paying off the national debt. Okay? Right? You need to pay us back. Anyway, I could go on and on about NASA. Anybody who's still out there who believes NASA and uses NASA as your proof for the globe, you need to get your head examined. I'm sorry. I don't know. Anyway. I'll tell you what, let's just go ahead and open up the phone lines here. And I'm going to put on, let's see, I got, let me see if I get this right here. We got a bunch of people in the queue on the phone lines. So calling in from, I guess, Indiana, 574-340. Who do I have here?
It's me, Rob. How are you, brother?
Hey, you can hear me, I can hear you, and there's no feedback.
Welcome back, man. I'm so happy for you to return, and happy for everybody else, especially those that that sent you the emails and messages. And God is good, brother. He's good and faithful.
Yeah, man. I talked to you earlier today, and what I'd like you to do is share for my listeners a few of your testimonies. You told me a few people that have either come to Christ as a result of this or come into a closer relationship as a result of this whole flat earth thing, and I also want you to talk about how the deal was sealed for you with a little incident in the shoebox.
Yeah. Well, here, I'll start with this. First and foremost, so people know, I don't know if you would explain to people, you and I have worked on some things together, and we've become pretty good friends here, obviously, and obviously brothers. And one of the things that, got me was I actually started sharing just the scientific inconsistencies with people. And where I live, I'm only an hour outside of Chicago on a really good day with no traffic on drive time. But when we go to Lake Michigan, we're literally roughly to the closest beach in Michigan. It's about 42 miles across the water to Chicago. And our whole lives, we have been able to see the city from the beach, standing on the sand. That should not be possible, according to the science we've been taught. And so when I was a kid, in sixth grade, we were taught this whole globe thing from the mathematics side. And I, kind of raised my hand and said, well, how come we can see Chicago from Michigan? And my teacher said, you can't see that. I'm like, yeah, we can. My dad and I saw it, and it kind of got a little confrontation. And, you there?
Yeah.
You there?
That was just
okay.
That was just the other line dropped.
Okay. So anyway, long story short, what happened was you and I had started talking about this flat earth thing back in like April, I think. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, I don't know. I've seen a lot of posts on this, but I don't know. And you were kind of like, dude, I'm serious. You might want to check this out. It's kind of wild. And I was like, okay. So I had a long drive up into Michigan, and I thought, all right, I'm going to do this. And then I listened to Flat Earth Clues, and I'm going, this is really intriguing. I've got to check this out. And then it popped in my head. I'm like, well, I remember that happening to me in sixth grade where I got in an argument with my teacher. So when I talked to you the next time, I said, one of the things that gets me is I've been able to see Chicago since I was a little kid from Lake Michigan, from the Michigan coastline. And that should not be possible after I looked up the equation and how you figure out the curvature of the earth. And then I looked up this formula for the curvature of water on the earth. And then I realized there's no such thing. There's no formula for the curvature of water. Nobody has ever figured that out. And I thought, well, that's really strange. So then I started praying about it. I'm like, God, I just want to know the answer to this. This is really bugging me. And, the inside joke that Rob and I have had since this all started was I felt like Fred Flintstone right before he releases the bowling ball down the alley where you hear his toes going, and I just couldn't shake this feeling. And I knew that there was something to it, and I kept praying, and I'm going, Father, is this part of the grand illusion? Is this part of the big deception that even the very elect could be deceived by? Is it science? Is it all this? And I'm talking heartfelt prayers, man. I'm talking about staying awake at night going, wow, this is huge. If this is true, it's huge. And I started searching the scriptures. And then somebody had sent me an email because they'd seen some of the conversations and posts I'd put on about questioning things. And somebody had sent me the Flat Earth Bible and the scriptures that are all inside of this thing. And just the references from the pillars to the firmament to the separation of the waters to the earth being void without form, or the waters being void without form, and God's face was on the face of the waters, deep, 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 deep down. And I'm going, okay, hold on a second. How does this all work out? And when did it start? When did it turn into a sphere? And when did he put the stars outside the firmament, and when did he put the sun and moon outside the firmament? Because it's saying that they're in between the waters. So I started drawing it on a dry erase board, and what I hadn't really picked up on was that that's the same drawing that had been in some of these older Bibles that were some of the older illustrations. And then I started really looking into it more and Googling the images. I'm going, this is really crazy. Now, June 7th rolls around, and I'll set this up real quick, that my grandma had passed away a few months before that, and what I had done was I had had to go to her house and pick up some of the stuff that we had in her garage. Well, I had packed a box of old action figures in a shoebox, and they were up on a shelf way in the back of her garage, and I remembered putting them there for some weird reason. I'm like, when I saw the shoebox, I'm like, oh, yeah, there's action figures there. My daughter would love that. There's a scuba diver guy in there. And she can use that when she's in the pool and when she's taking baths and stuff. But I'm going to wash them because of mice and who knows what's been in that box. So I never even opened the box. Now, mind you, when all this started, when you and I talked about this whole experience I had in 6th grade where the teacher basically sent me to the principal's office for questioning the mathematics that we were being taught in class that day, that, hey, I could see Chicago. What's going on here? The principal saved me that day because he said, well, I've seen Chicago from there. So he took me back to class, and so I got to sit through the rest of the class with that, with the rest of the kids. Now, mind you, Rob, I'm one of those guys, I never kept homework. I never kept notebooks. I never kept anything except my artwork. That was it. Anything else, even if I got an A on a test, I didn't bring it home and hang it up on the fridge. That wasn't my living conditions where I was, the way I was raised. So the last day of school, the big giant trash can on wheels would come in the classroom, and the kids would literally just clean their desks out, most of them, and just throw everything away and go home. So I remember telling you, I'm like, man, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that old curriculum. It'd be kind of cool. And wouldn't you know it, the day that I actually, on June 7th, the day that I sat down on the front porch to grab the stuff, for my daughter, I opened up the box, and there's a folder. And I looked down at it, and I'm like, no way, what is this? This is old. And I open it up, and it's the exact curriculum that we had talked about, that you and I had talked about on the phone. It's the exact same papers as if they had just been put in there the day that I left school or, had that curriculum end. And as I was reading, if anybody, I don't know if you want to get into this, but I had literally said in this video, I started recording right away. At that point, I went and grabbed my phone. I just started recording, and I'm like, you can't write this stuff. You just can't write this stuff. That this is the exact same curriculum, the same exact worksheets that I got into an argument with my teacher about in 6th grade, 1984, about, the math that we were being taught right then. And I'm sitting there going, there's just no way this is possible. So I start reading the paper, and I get down to the bottom of the paper, and it's like, and it said, do you know the answers? And I'm like, well, I'm searching for them. In my mind, I'm reading them. I've been searching for them. I even said in the video when I first started recording, I've been praying about this, and I've been taking all kinds of flack from people for mentioning flat Earth, just for questioning it. And as I read this on a perfectly clear, sunshiny day, June 7th in northern Indiana, as I read in my own writing, it said, my answer was to the question, what were the early ideas about the shape of the Earth? And I said, in my own writing, I said it was flat. And as my mouth uttered didn't even utter, but just made that sound in flat, lightning struck right in front of my house. My little 4-year-old daughter was next to me in another chair, and I didn't see the lightning per se. I saw the flash, but I was looking down at the paper, and it left a shiny, bright disturbance on my phone for a split second there, and then all of a sudden you could hear this thunder. But when the lightning flashed, my daughter said, lightning! And I knew then, I'm like, oh my gosh. As I was saying that, and you can see the demeanor, I just completely changed my demeanor. It went from being shocked that I found this folder to, wow, I just got confirmation. I just got confirmation, not just in sight, but also in sound. So with my eyes and my ears, there was a complete confirmation that what I've been praying for diligently, not only did this folder appear out of nowhere, and I did not put that folder in that box, that shoebox, and like I said, that thing was probably packed in 1993, and here it is, 2015, and I'm pulling this old notebook out of this, going, where did this come from? How did this get in there? Out of all the things that I could have had from my school history, that's the thing that shows up. And as I'm looking at it, in real time, on a crystal clear blue day, I mean, there's some clouds and stuff, but it wasn't like we had a thunderstorm or anything, or any warnings or anything of that nature that day.
The past 2 weeks, I've been catching flack from all kinds of people about the flat earth and doing my own tests to see if, in fact, some of the things that we've been taught aren't true. I do like to question things. I'm not going to just take somebody's word for it, because I don't believe the 9/11 stories and all the hijinks of the geopolitical world, and I definitely don't trust scientists that don't believe in God. It's that simple. So my grandma passed away a couple months ago, and I had to go grab a couple things out of the garage of hers, and I had this box that has just been sitting right here on my front porch for the past 4 or 5 days. I haven't even opened it. I just knew it was my old box because it's an old Nike box that was probably packed in the 90s. I just literally opened it. I knew that there was something in there for my daughter that she would want to see. And in there, you can't write this stuff, by the way. In there is a folder that says the Ricker Hummer, Social Studies, 1990. Look at the Nike Air. Look, and it's so weird that that's on my folder from school, from back in the 80s probably, obviously, because I graduated in 1990. So I've been praying about confirmation from God about the shape of the earth.
I've been looking for the one.
Okay, I know. You've been looking for all those, I know. So here's the folder. The Ricker, 1990, Social Studies, whatever. I opened this up February 1st, 1984. Rick Hummer. You can't write this stuff, man. Rick Hummer, maps and globes are tools of geography. I looked down, I'm going, okay, what is it? It says, do you know the answers? What were the early, what does that say? The early, is that ideas? What were the early ideas about the shape of the earth? In my own writing, it was flat.
Lightning.
And lightning just struck as I said that. Like I said, you can't write this stuff. Do you follow me? As I'm making this video, that happens. Wow. Let's go inside, kiddo. Don't be afraid. That is insane.
I'll just sit with you so I don't be pretty, because I'm always with you.
Oh, you okay? Let's go inside. I'm going with it. We're all going inside. Let's get it.
And it was so insane that happened. And I shouldn't say the word insane, but just the way that God has a sense of humor. And I think that's what happens with people when they start talking about flat earth. They forget that God has a sense of humor. He does have a sense of humor, but he's also just. So when we question things and we're out to learn things, those that shut people down for even trying to learn, I think there's something wrong there. If you're a believer and you're telling people they're stupid for trying to learn, think about what you're saying. And then,
yeah.
And I want to encourage people, use your eyes. Use your eyes and the ears that God gave you. Don't be afraid to learn. What did Yeshua say? What did Jesus say? He said, go out and make disciples of men. The word disciple means learner. You should never want to stop learning, ever. The second that you think that you're done learning,
that's my point. What I was trying to say earlier. Why are people going so psycho when this should just simply be a learning opportunity? Okay, fine. If we're on a globe, great. Then let's have logical rebuttals to the flat Earth arguments. How do you explain? And I'm sorry, the whole bending light magic trick mirage thing doesn't cut it.
No, it doesn't. And that's just it, Rob. I think that's it. I think what happens is this is such a big deception, because like what Mark Sargent said, from the very first point that you get into school, you know that 1 + 1 is 2, and you live on a sphere because there's a globe in the classroom. I mean, we had a globe in our house before I was even in school. And, what blows me away is just the fact that we can stand on the ground 50 miles away, 65 miles away in St. Joseph, Michigan. You can stand on the beach there in Chicago, and it should be over 2,200 feet below the surface of the water, the horizon of the water, if you believe the math that NASA and the science world has given you. And let's not forget that 90% of scientists do not believe in a creator. They want to believe the lie and believe that, you know, evolution is real and the aliens are real. And if you have a flat Earth in a dome system, their whole world that they want to construct in their mind and in your mind with taxpaying dollars, it's completely obliterated. And at that point in time, now, the only thing that people can lean on, and the sad thing is that most people take the bait, is that it's okay to attack with hurtful words and names and scoffing and mocking and ridicule. That's the only defense mechanism that people have. They would rather go into that fleshly attack mode rather than go, you know what, let me get some Q-tips. I want to hear this. And at that point in time, you know, it's like, I think I've told you this before, you know, people used to say to me all the time, well, hey, man, what do you think about this whole Mayan December 21st, 2012 thing? I'm like, if the Mayans are so smart, where are they? And if in fact people really do want to believe that the end of the world is 2012, well, I still say that. It's still true today. The end of the world is 2012 on people. It doesn't matter who they are. But it's Proverbs 2012. The second that God gives you hearing ears and seeing eyes that he has made, because that's what it says, the hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord hath made even both of them. The second that God turns that switch on, I'm talking boom, just like that. The second that he turns that switch on, the world you once knew ends, and you've got a new set of senses, and you're actually tapping into something, and that's a gift. And that's what I've been trying to tell people. It's like, look, don't get mad at me for just questioning a group of esoteric scientists that don't believe in the same creator that I believe in, because they're following the God of this world right now, who's the Prince of the Air, who they've made contact with, going all the way back to Aleister Crowley, to Blavatsky, to Alice Bailey, to all the stuff that's in the UN. And I know this may sound completely off the wall to some people and foreign, but this stuff is actually what's happening. We're watching a one-world system come into play like never before. That's this whole time crunch thing is with September. They're, you know, if they do hit the reset button and they put everybody on the same monetary system in the next 10 years or in the next year, or who knows what's going to happen. But that is their plan. That's written. And it's also written in our scripture that there will be a one-world system, that he's going to have a short time to rule, meaning Satan's, meaning the Antichrist, the one and only. You know, the false prophet, the false Messiah, all that stuff's going to happen. You know, and I do believe this. I can't help it. I mean, would I have ever thought 20 years ago that I'd be sitting on my front porch in Lakeville, Indiana with my 4-year-old daughter, and as I'm reading, it was flat, that lightning would strike on a crystal clear blue day, and the loudest thunder that I've ever heard in my life, to where we actually felt the ground shake on my front porch. It was so loud. If somebody would have told me that 20 years ago, I would have laughed at them. If somebody would have told me that 15 years ago, I would have laughed at them. If somebody would have told me that 10 years ago, I might have went, you know what, I don't know, because I kind of woke up to the whole 9/11 thing and the geopolitical world and how they're streaming this all into one system. So throughout knowing in God, and I didn't care about any of that stuff that I just mentioned. I could have cared less. I was about me. I was about my career. And what I can tell you is how this all ties in to people that are atheists, to people that are Christians that want to hold on to this. The ones that have listened, the ones that have actually seen, you know, why I'm doing this, or at least maybe they have the eyes and the ears and the God's just turning them on and they want to learn. What I've seen is the ones that completely go into this with humility and go, you know what, I'm willing to look with a humble heart. They're the ones that aren't ridiculing and mocking. The ones that don't have any pride, the ones that aren't proud, going, well, you know what, you know, I know God better than you do. That whole thing is a joke and a farce within itself. And the ones that were mocking God, when I threw that map at them and said, okay, well, here's the map you believe in on the ground. If the map is wrong here on the ground, how off is it up above? How if it's already that far off down here on the ground, how much further off is it in the air, and would you know? And if I can prove to you that NASA has lied here, 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 and here, how many times would you allow me to lie to you before you quit listening to me?
Now, that's the thing. Now, like I said earlier, that last video that NASA put out with the moon crossing in front of the Earth, they're like saying, yep, we're a bunch of fraudulent liars, and here's the evidence. Here's the proof. They just totally made every single photo they ever allegedly took from the moon in the Apollo program null and void with that one picture, with that one video.
Yeah.
And even that, it throws everything into question at this point.
Well, if anybody would just look at the old lunar walks, and there's an elderly gentleman that I think he worked for NASA at one time. I can't remember his name, and you can Google it and you can find it on YouTube. But the propulsion of the lunar lander, the very first one that they supposedly landed, and Matt made a good point when he said, "Oh, look, the camera crew was already there before they got there, and they were able to record the lunar lander coming down." But where's the jet propulsion? And the other thing is nobody's really done the research on how a jet or a rocket would work in space if it's a vacuum. It doesn't work. It shouldn't work.
Yeah.
And bottom line is, when you go back to this whole lunar lander thing, there's no dirt, there's no dust on top of the boots, there's no crater underneath the ship. There's multiple errors in the lighting, and anyone that's done audio or video, especially video, and you've worked with lighting, you understand. And people say, "Oh, well, they debunked that." Well, I completely disagree with that. I think you might want to do a little bit more research on that. But more importantly, we've caught them in lies. They have lied over and over and over and over again, and I don't think that it's a coincidence that the serpent's tongue is on their logo.
Right.
And
well,
so
hey, man,
when I say that, so anyway,
Well, I want to. There's the queue is filling up. All of a sudden, everybody wants to talk.
Oh yeah.
So
no. Here, what I do want to tell you is be patient with people. If you are into this and you are discovering this, be patient with those that are scoffing and mocking, because you should expect that. And when they do ridicule you and they make fun of you, rejoice in that, because God tells us, our Father tells us, that's going to happen. I mean, the handbook's right there. He tells you, you're going to experience this when you tell the truth. You're going to experience this. And if this is the great delusion, which I truly believe it's all tied in together, part of the deception with science, if that is the case, then stand up and be a warrior, put your shield on, put your armor on, just like he said, but use your tongue as a sword. Just speak the truth. Use a plainness of speech. Be as wise as the serpent. You know his schemes. Satan loses, man. He's already done. And as far as the atheists go, I want to tell you this real quick. The atheists and those that did not believe in God, or those that are even Gnostic, the ones that I've been in contact with, the ones that have reached out and said, okay, what is this stuff? I'm not going to make fun of you, but you're really passionate about this. I want to know. The second that I show them one iota of truth about NASA's lies, number one, they get angry about being lied to. The second one is, hey, man, just go stand out here on the beach and look. Just go look. Use your eyes. Now that you know you can't trust somebody else. Oh, by the way, did you know that Jesus said, let no man deceive you? No, I never heard that. Well, that's what he says. There's more to it. Can I show you? Yeah. All of a sudden, bam. They're in the Bible. They're in the Bible. And they're looking at this stuff going, this is in here? I'm like, it's in here. But you're not going to hear that at church. You're not going to hear that in most of your churches, because they're not going to talk about this stuff in a 25-minute sermon. And I'm not dissing churches. I'm just saying you can't go sit on your butt on a Sunday morning for an hour, go through the community calendar, go through the offering, go stand up, sit down, that kind of thing, and hear a 25-minute sermon by the time it's all said and done. You can't get into it enough. You got to be responsible enough to go and dig and dig and dig. And my whole process in this is be a learner. Just go and learn and learn and learn and learn and share the truth. Share the knowledge, and most importantly, share the wisdom that Yeshua teaches, and that's it. So love you, brother. I'm glad you're back, and I'm so encouraged by this, and praying for you and Sheila as the time continues on. And I just do want to encourage folks to, if you're out there and you do like supporting ministries, please support Rob. This is something that he's dedicated his life to, that he has been led to do, and Rob is actually somebody that's helped me in my walk to become more responsible and want to learn and continue to learn, and at the same time, Rob, you've taught me to be more humble with people and take that approach, and I love you, brother, and I'm so happy that you're back.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. Awesome, man. Thanks for calling in.
I'll talk to you soon. No problem.
Okay, bud. See ya.
See you, man.
And let's see. We got area code 509491. Who do I have here?
That would be me, Rob.
Hi, who is me? Yeah,
this is Mickey. How you doing? What's going on, brother?
Dude, I thought you were like 805 or something.
850. Yeah, I was on the cell phone and my house phone. You had us calling in on all these different numbers, and it was like, okay, well, we'll just play the field. We'll see what happens.
That's cool.
Well, it is good to hear you, brother. It is so good to hear you back on. And, you know, blessings to you and Sheila. I know you guys are going through a tough time right now. And truly, if you don't mind, I would like to pray for you and Sheila real quick, if that's okay.
Oh, sure, man. Thank you.
All right. Heavenly Father, I just want to lift Rob and Sheila up to you, Lord. I know that they have gone through a tremendous loss. And Lord, it is so hard, especially when you have physical pains that are just racking your body. And I know Sheila's loss is tremendous, Lord. But I just ask for a covering of peace, Lord, over that household, and just blessings in Jesus' name, amen. I just want to give you a quick prayer, brother. I just, you know, I've seen your posts on Facebook and stuff, and I realize, and you know my background with Dr. Hovind, and you know, you brought that up earlier, and I wanted to let you know that, you know, when he started out in his creation ministry, he met with the same kind of resistance you're meeting with the flat Earth. And when people attack like that, you know that now science is now a religion. It is not. It has nothing to do with logic anymore. It is an attack on people. If you do not believe something that they, like Bill Nye recently has come out, and I mean, he has just completely attacked creationists all the way around. And they use the whole tax base and everything else, the whole government system. They try to use the weight of that to validate their claim. And, you know, when you go at this, and I think I posted this the other day on your Facebook page, we don't always encourage you, and we should. And we as your audience and we as your disciples, if you will, in a sense. Because a lot of us, I mean, I got to tell you, the first time you brought up Flat Earth, you know, I was like, what? No, you got to be kidding. Come on, Rob, seriously. Oh, let's not go down this road. I mean, it was all we could do just to get through the whole Apollyon thing, you know, and now we're going through this. But I got to tell you, brother, it's been eye-opening. And the best part about it is you get to go back and look at the Bible. You peel everything back. You go, you know what? I know what everybody's told me about the Bible. I know what every preacher has said. I think I told you a couple of weeks ago, you know, I've been in Genesis, up to Genesis 5. I've been studying Genesis 1 through 5 for the last 6-8 months now, and I have just uncovered some amazing things. And it's when you peel that layer back and take all presuppositions out and all the things that people have told you it says, and you start reading it, it's just amazing. And a lot of that, you know, came from some of your teachings. So you just hang in there. Just hang in there. Know that you will be blessed. You will truly be blessed.
You blessed me just now. Thank you, brother.
Well, I can't tell you, you know, and I will tell you this, too. You know, like I said, you know my relationship with Dr. Hovind, and it took him 65 years.
This will be an interesting one.
Well, you know, it took him 65 years just to get off of the pre-trib rapture. Okay,
right.
So
well, he said
he's not going to jump on the. Well, I tell you one thing. It takes a while. You have to approach him in a different way. You kind of got to ease into it because he has some very strong. He spent a lot of time defending creation, so he has some very, very strong walls built up, and so a lot of his creation stuff is based on, you know, round Earth and things like that. And mathematically, you know that a lot of that stuff works out just fine, and it works out for flat Earth. It doesn't really matter. I think what I came to a realization was when I told you I was in Genesis, and I was sitting there going, you know, when I started asking, you know, is this stuff Rob's talking about, is this even feasible, you know? And so I start reading Genesis, and then I read in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The earth was without form and void. And it was like, without form, okay, well, right there, we know it's not a ball. And we know he took care of the void part, but it never said he went back and made it, you know, played patty cake with the earth and made it into a ball. So, I mean, from the very beginning, we see that, God says it's without form. If it's without form, I'm okay with that. God said it, I'm okay with it. And it shouldn't change anybody's dynamics about what, about salvation or anything. But again, I don't think I would have even thought that reading that verse, because everybody always told me that once God made creation, He made everything into a ball. And it's like, no.
Well, that's the thing, Isaiah 40:22. Like I said, everybody in their talking parrot wants to use, the circle of the earth, but they're missing verse 21. Verse 21 says, "Have you not known? Have you not heard? Has it not been told you from the beginning, i.e., Genesis? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth?" And then it goes into the circle.
Exactly. Well, and the other thing is, I sent you that email the other day, and everybody's talking about September, and all the things that are going to be going on, and everybody wants to jump to Revelation 13 and Revelation 9 and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what? When I read Revelation, I like to know that God's going to do things in order, at least in the sense that He told us how He's going to do things. And we've got like the sixth seal, Let's get through that major earthquake that's in the sixth seal, okay, where every mountain is moved out of its place. Let's get through that before we worry about Revelation 9 and 13 and all of that. We have so many people that take Scripture out of context, and then they try to apply it to what they've read in the news that day. And it's like, just slow down, people, slow down.
Yeah, regarding that, for the sake of my listeners, can you share what you did with me about the drain pipe, basically, of CERN, and what your concerns are regarding CERN?
Concern, I love that. Yeah, well, one of the things was I was watching something, and it just kind of caught my eye. I was talking about CERN, and obviously there's all these issues about CERN and the collider, and what's going on inside the collider, right, in the collision chamber itself. Right. And I work in nuclear power, okay, so and the biggest issue about nuclear power is not the reactor, right? Everything, you have Fukushima, you have things like that have happened, catastrophic events, but for the most part, inside the reactor compartment, you don't worry about it. What it ends up being is the waste. And when I started looking at CERN, one of the things they did is they did this test run, and then they went in. It was a 6 trillion electron volt test run that they had done, and 11 seconds after they did a beam dump, which is when they dispense all the energy, they just shoot it into the earth. And 11 seconds after they did that, you had that earthquake in Nepal. And I was thinking, well, no, that's weird. Coincidentally, okay. But then I started looking, and it was talking about the upgrades that they had done to CERN. And so I started trying to find out, okay, well, if they did upgrade to the beam, then what did they do for the dump? Because, you can't have, like in the analogy of the kitchen sink, you have a sink, your kitchen sink and drain, the faucet and drain, are designed so that the drain will always be able to remove the amount of water that comes out of that faucet. As long as there's no clog, you're good to go. But if you took a fire hose and you blew it in your sink, you're gonna fill it rather quickly. And so this whole idea of this beam dump, and when they up this beam intensity, and they were talking about the next run that they were going to do in September was going to be around 36 TeV or trillion electron volts. And you start looking at what the magnitude of that is. And there's a thing out there in Popular Science that you can go out, and it kind of breaks it down as to how much energy that is, equivalent to nuclear power, and how many cities and how long it would take and that kind of stuff. And it's just phenomenal. And again, it's not so much the collisions inside this chamber, but when they dispense this energy and they drive it into the earth, what's going to happen? Where's it going to go? Because you can't put that much energy in the earth and the earth not respond. You just can't.
Yeah.
And so, my concern was, okay, And I'm hoping that somebody will come out and say, no, we're not going to do that or whatever. But if you put that much energy into the ocean or something like that, you would see a reaction. Well, that same reaction is going to happen inside the Earth. It's just how is it going to happen? So, I think the CERN thing is of concern. And I do think that it will play a part in Revelation 9. I do think the whole Apollyon thing and the key to the bottomless pit and all of that, I believe that has something to do with it, no doubt. Its location and all of that has got something to do with that. But I think, like I said, I don't want to jump to Revelation 9 until we get through Revelation 6. So,
right.
And I think that could, in fact, be, when I start looking at what could cause a global earthquake, I can't really think of anything. Something like this, when you think about all the nuclear tests and stuff, the underground nuclear tests that they did, and you've seen them on YouTube, how the Earth just drops down. Those are only a few hundred feet below the surface of the ground. And if you remember in the movie Armageddon when they were talking about, why don't you put a nuclear device on the asteroid and just blow it up? And he said, well, it's kind of like taking a firecracker in the palm of your hand. If your palm's open and you light the fuse, you're just going to burn your hand when the firecracker goes off. But if you close your fist around it, you're going to be picking up your fingers off the floor. And it's kind of the same thing with this. You put something deep into the Earth, it's going to have a catastrophic, some kind of reaction, something.
Well, that's the thing that's got my attention, because you have this French foreign minister almost 500 days ago saying in 500 days we're going to have climate chaos, as if they obviously know something is going to, on a very specific day, for him to say in 500 days, which I believe is like September 23rd or somewhere thereabouts, when that 500 days runs out. Is that the same day that CERN's supposed to be firing up?
If I'm not mistaken, that is the same time period. And so you have, and what better way to reset the global economy, than to have a global earthquake? I mean, so many things could precipitate out of that would, in fact, bring forth, but you know what a blessing it would be, because at least then we would know exactly where we were on God's timeline. Fifth seal's open. We know that fifth seal's open, or sixth seal's open. And, the next one coming up is going to be trumpet judgment. So at least we would have an idea of exactly where we were on God's timeline. But they're telling us why would he say that? Why would he say 500 days? Of all, and that's specific for climate chaos.
Chaos.
Chaos, exactly. Not climate change, not inclement weather, not a hurricane, climate chaos. So, but and again, if we had something like that, the tsunamis would be ridiculous. Coastal regions would be just wiped out. So it's just, it's something to think about.
Well, more than think about, I believe we can pray against it, and I think that there have been times in the past where the prayers of the saints have impacted CERN's activities. If Steve Quayle's reports are to be believed, because he's talked on a number of occasions about various things, just really weird, bizarre things happening to shut down their plans. So, people of God, I think we need to, I know, we need to pray with intent against this. We know the end is coming, but nothing says it has to happen on our watch. He says, my people who are called by my name, he says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, then I'll from heaven heal their land. So
heal their land, and that's the big one too, is healing their land. Because right now, I'm in Washington State, and this state is on fire right now, and this is a cleansing. I believe it is. God can heal this land, but there's a purification that has to happen. And this state, we've turned away. We've turned our back to God, and it's our leaders and stuff that we put in there that are doing this. And so, we have to come together as Christians. We have to do something. We have to stand up. Somehow we have to stand up. We have to make it known that we're not going to let Satan take this over. I mean, enough is enough. Our moral compass is so far off right now. I mean, I look back just 20 years, and I cannot believe how far we've come and how far away we've strayed. But I will say this, there is a huge awakening. And people like Jim Staley being persecuted like he was, Kent Hovind, again, you know, these are people who brought awareness to people. And you know, with Jim, I am so thankful that I got a chance to get on board with him early on, and understand why he is being persecuted in the way he is. But what a blessing he has been in my life, my wife's life, and I know in yours. I mean, he has just brought an awareness. And again, there's another one. You know, when you listen to folks like Dr. Hovind, you know, he's trying to pick up his ministry from where he dropped off, you know, in 2006. He has been in basically a time capsule for the last 9 years. And
it's funny you should say that, because I just had this vision in my head of when Han Solo was taken out of Carbonite. And Chewie's telling him that Luke is now a Jedi Knight. He's like, I'm out of it for a little while, and everybody gets the illusion of grandeur. So I kind of had this image of Ken Hovind getting all these emails as soon as he gets home. Flat Earth. Oh, yeah. What the heck? I'm out of it for a little while, and everybody, you know.
But I had I've only talked to him a couple times since he's been out, but each time he is just, because the guy is, you know, he's a type A personality to begin with, and he is wired for sound. He is so excited and on fire to get back out and start preaching. And so I think he just figured out his computer camera, because he's made like a bazillion videos now, and it's like, okay, didn't you say that yesterday? But he's loving it. He's getting back into the groove and trying to get back into it. So I do know that, you know, he will take this in when the time is right. But right now he's trying to get his land feet back on. He's been out of commission for a while.
Yeah.
But brother,
well, thanks,
I want
brother.
to thank you again. And God bless you and Sheila. You guys, you are just being battled. And I do know, just like with Kent, in the early stages of his creation stuff, he had to battle. And that's why he ended up being so powerful in what he did. You keep with this. You are doing an awesome work.
Thank you, brother.
Just be blessed.
Thank you.
All right, brother. You be good.
Okay, man. Thanks again.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, and let's see. We got somebody here from 289-335. Who do I have here?
Houston, we have a problem. Hey, Skiba, it's Baxter, Calm Crash. I just want to give a shout-out to my bro, Rick Hummer, as well. I was actually, he called me up a little while ago. Well, he was asking about the flat Earth thing when I thought about it. And I said, I don't really know, because I kind of put everything on halt about 5 years ago when I became geocentric. I was looking for, like, Chimera and the past and things like this. And he called me up one time, and he showed me this. He's talking about this video, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Because, like, when he asked me, I'm like, well, there's three steps that I take. Mine is go ask the big guy, go ask God, hold out the fleece. Get confirmation. The second one would be to read the Bible. You know, he wrote it out, right? How he created it. And the second would be real science, like Hovind says, observe, test, and demonstrate. So he was talking about this video, and I had no idea what he was talking about. And so he's like, oh, man, I got to show you this thing, because he was talking to me on Skype. And he showed me this video, and all of a sudden, you know, the lightning struck, and I went, whoa, and I got chills like all over my body, because I told him, like even my YouTube channel, it says, if you have questions, you need answers, just go to your room, close the door, and ask. And I'm actually standing in the spot about 4 or 5 years ago that I stood here and I tried to contact aliens. And I'm kind of ashamed to say it, but you know, I was in the conspiracy thing for a long time, but it wasn't until, you know, I even believed in God at that point, but for some reason I was trying to contact them. And this thing totally totally annihilates the strong delusion, because that's one of my big things on my plate is fighting the strong delusion. You know, the pre-trib rapture ties and all that stuff ties into it. But I mean, where do the aliens fit into this? Like, they can't evolve on these planets from galaxies far, far away. You know, right. And it completely annihilates it to me. And I don't remember, like, I've had a few dreams in my life, and I've only remembered 3 of them. And the one was where I kind of drew a line in the sand, and I was being chased. I ended up in a camp. People were losing their heads, and then I ended up in Holland. The 3rd time they asked me to deny Christ is when I woke up sweating, like I was caught at that time. It was 3 times. But the last dream I had was actually you were in the dream. It was you, Rick Hummer, Greg Stump, a few other people out there. It's kind of one of those lingering dreams that's been coming to fruition, like it's been happening. It's been coming to pass, which is really, really crazy. Because in this dream, I can't mention some of these people's names, but in this dream, there's a few people in it. And one of them is a very, in the Canadian Truth Movement, this person, she has a lot of huge following, and she was there in the stream, and I was in a really dark basement, and we were all sitting there, and then all of a sudden, you started talking about geocentricity, and I was like, yeah, and I was kind of like cheering you on, but we were in this like dark basement, and then this person got up, and they started ruffling their purse, and they started getting kind of anxious, and I could see 2 doorways and a stairwell. And she started heading towards the stairwell, and I could see the light there. And then I started reminiscing. I started reminiscing about when I became geocentric. I started reminiscing about when I when I met one of my friends at Conspiracy Culture underneath Eric Dubai's thread, and I actually showed him this video, Rick Hummer's video, which ties into this whole thing, but. So anyways, when I had finished reminiscing about the geocentricity and I came back, I realized that she was actually in the other doorway, and she was kind of like pacing, but she was pretending she was like looking for an earring or something, so she was paying attention. I don't want to get too much involved into this because I don't want to mention names here, but because this is still coming to pass, this dream. It's been really intense the way this happened. So anyways, this person, one of the people, he actually, I added him to your group, and he had a few questions about God and stuff, and he never does this. And so anyways, I showed him Rick Hummer's video, because I told him, like, you know, you don't need to go to church, you don't need this. It's just like, go to your room, just close the door, get on your knees and just talk to him, and he'll answer you, right? And because that's what I did about 4 years ago. So anyways, so he did, and he asked God for a sign, and he went to a grocery store, and this lady in line saw us, and noticed him, saw his tattoos, and she said something about how Satan is trying to put the blinders on people and put the scales on their eyes and things like that, and I mean, so he got his sign like right away. So I don't know. It's been pretty intense. I mean, just because of everybody and everything that happened in this dream. So yeah, I mean, after Rick Hummer's video, that was it. I mean, it would be cognitive dissonance for me to tell my friends, hey man, if you got questions, just go ask them. You know what I mean? And
yeah, you know,
I mean,
it's weird though. Rick and I have had a number of conversations about this, because I would, you know, I think you maybe and a couple other people were on the initial phone message, video message that he sent out, because he had just found the box, and he was like, oh, I gotta tell these guys about it. And as he's telling us about it live, that lightning goes off right when he reads the answer. What was the Earth? You know, what was the prevailing belief concerning the Earth or whatever? And his answer was, it was flat. And it's like the old Frankenstein movies, you know, off right there.
And then thunder comes in, yeah. And his daughter was like, that is lightning.
And he's like, I can't write this stuff. But you know, but I mean, he got that lightning, thunder, God speaking in the moment. And I've been praying too, dude. I mean, I've been praying I'm like, God, please just make it easy for me, you know, like do something like that I can't deny. And, you know, I know why he's not doing it that way, because if he did, then I'd be like, okay, you know, it's flat, cool. And I wouldn't,
exactly.
I probably wouldn't dig any further, right? He's making me dig. And, you know, aside from all the significant flack and annoying people out there, you know, going psycho on you, it's pretty, you know, to whatever degree I can ignore that, it's a very exciting and extremely intriguing. It's like the more I look into it, the more I'm like, wow, this is just crazy. To even be looking into this in the 21st century is crazy in and of itself. But once you do get into it, and that's what I've been telling people, I'm like, look, just shut up, look into it for one day. One day. Just pick a day and just shut up and look into it for yourself, because if you take that one day, I'm not talking just like look at one video and say, oh, it's stupid. You know, take the whole day, one day.
Yeah.
And because it'll take you that long once you go into that rabbit hole. The initial slide down the hole is pretty fast and pretty far. You slide down pretty far, and once you're down there, you're like, oh, this is interesting.
I didn't want to go down there. My Facebook says cognitive dissonance assassin is my job description. And then he shows me this video, and I'm like, no! You know, but, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, it completely, because I've been in so many threads and so many debates, and it's just like the flat Earth would annihilate it. There's no aliens. Like, you know, when they show, I mean, Madonna has this thing, right? Desecration of the Bride, Arrival of the Fallen Angels coming up, you know, this conference. And it's ludicrous, and you know, that's my big thing. Is the strong delusion, and it completely destroys it. One shot,
it does.
Boom.
Yeah, well, that's
gone,
why that's why there has to be this kind of reaction. Like I said at the top of the show, over on frequency.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like you know, I always thought, you know, when they show up in the Vimanas and, you know, Tier 3B Astros or whatever, and they have some sort of, you know, Nephilim chimera that they've been making in the labs for the past 6 years, but, you know, that was going to be, you know, his ace in the deck. But really, this just you know, it topples that whole pile of cards, you know, creation, like back in the beginning.
Yeah. Boom.
Completely analogous.
Once you realize you're in a terrarium, I mean, assuming that this model is true, you're in a terrarium, and it's not a very big one. I mean, it is large, but I mean, it's not the ever expanding cosmos that, you know, Carl Sagan and, you know, Neil deGrasse Tyson want us to believe in. But once you realize Dawkins. Once you realize you're in the Truman Show, well, you know, at that point, you are absolutely confronted with the reality of the Creator, and the fact there are no other worlds out there, and evolution goes out the window, and aliens goes out the window, and, you know, like you said, I do believe, if it is true that we are in a snow globe, as I firmly believe the Bible says that we are, then this is the great deception. No doubt about it. That even the elect, even the King James only elect, are deceived by it.
Touche. That's one of my last confirmations. Rick told me. He said, you know, he was on the phone. My daughter came up to me, you know, when I just got out of the strong delusion. That's another long story. But when all that happened, after that happened, I asked. My daughter came home from school one day, and she asked me about the Big Bang, and I said, I don't know. The God made the Big Bang. You know, I had no idea, right? I believed in, you know, whatever. I didn't know. I had no idea. So the next thing that happened was all my email, all my inbox was full of Holbein, and I went and I started researching from there, right? And recently, my son came up to me and said, "Dad, what's the shape of the Earth?" It hit me right here. I know. It was like it was another confirmation for me to. It was a confirmation for me to look at this, right? And I was like, you know, it hit me right here because that's what happened to my daughter. And then, you know, my daughter, I researched and I answered all the questions or whatever. And, you know, she put on her text, "It's not my religion," was sent to the office, you know, principal's office. I was so proud. But so my son came to me and asked me about the shape of the Earth. So I all I did was question it, and I got attacked by really close friends, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to mention any of their names either, but I was attacked right away, and all I did was just like, question this thing because only because my son came to me and asked me, you know what I mean? And just like my daughter did about the Big Bang, and it was 5 years ago. It was the Joshua's Long Day that did that to me, The sun stood still. It just didn't fit. It was the only there's not much I disagree with you, and I think maybe once in my health issue, I can't remember what it was, but it was in your Archon Invasion when you were talking about the sun stood still, and you said no, the Earth stopped spinning or whatever. That was about it, and I didn't know why. I didn't have all the answers. I was Sagnac experience and things like that.
Even when I said that. Because, it is based on what we are told to believe concerning the Earth and its motion through the solar system and whatnot, that's why I always said, if my understanding of the cosmos is correct, that means the Earth stopped rotating. But even that, I mean, I would say it.
Yeah, that's incorrect.
While I'm saying it, though, I'm thinking that's a huge deal because I mean, you lose the magnetic field. Gravity goes out the window, and there's 1,000-mile-an-hour wind shear, and there's all kinds of problems. And then the Earth has to ramp back up to 1,000 miles an hour. And then in Isaiah, where it talks about the sun going backwards 10 degrees on the sundial, I mean that gets even worse. The Earth has to stop, go backwards, and then ramp back up again. I mean, there's so many stories that really make no sense at all in the current standard model that we're all taught. But and that's what's got me
for sure,
man. I'm like, I mean, like I said earlier, I believe what the Bible says, and really at this point, if you are a Bible-believing Christian, you say you believe the Bible and you say you take the Bible literally, you are in the Flat Earth Club. Welcome to the Flat Earth Club. Whether you like it or not.
Well, that's actually the last thing I have to do is.
I'm just trying to prove it.
Yeah. Well, that's the last thing. And you're right. You need to go through this process because you need to go through this process, put out all this research. It's going to impact so many lives, and it's that quest for truth that you're on, and your journey. You're questioning all things. But where was I? I want to. That's my last thing. My last thing is to get restored, and it was a confirmation. Rick Hummer's on the phone. He's like, and my son's there. And he's like, well, I was trying to figure out how to spend time with him, other than some other stuff that we typically do. And Rick Hummer's like, well, why don't you just go through the scripture with your son, get him to draw a picture. So the next morning, I woke up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'll go get a Bristol board. Next morning, my daughter called me, and she's like, I forgot the bank card at home at the dollar store. And I was like, wow, confirmation, right? There's been so many little things like that has happened throughout this process because I'm one of the big confirmation guys. But that's my last step, the scripture. It was my son and Bristol board.
Man.
Yeah.
I think I got a few minutes. So I'll try to get some other people. But, man, we got to talk some more. I want to have you on again because you've got an extensive collection of all kinds of cool stuff on your Facebook page and the long-eared people and just all that stuff. So we need to do a show, just the two of us, at some point in the near future.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for calling in, Rob.
Yeah, take care.
All right. And... the show is scheduled to end right now. Normally would end right now. So, but I'm going to just go a little bit longer. This is kind of fun. And since the beginning of it, I was rambling too much and I had technical difficulty and everything, and I'm not constrained by any commercials or anything like that, I'm just going to continue for a little while longer. I'm not going to continue all night long or for 2 or 3 hours. I just don't have that much time. But I do have some more time left, and there's still some people in the queue here. So next in line is, let's see, area code 631. Who do I have here? Area code 631-421.
Oh, that's me, Rob.
Hi.
Hi. This is Regina. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I feel bad for you guys, I can tell you that. Now, originally you said that you wanted to get people to talk about the testimonies. So far you've had some, great people on talking about the exchanges you've had with them and the information they've learned. I, personally, and if anybody else is out there listening that's not on Facebook, have experienced a tremendous closeness with my Father in heaven because of your work and because of Sheila's patience. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to read what I put on Facebook so that if anybody's listening, they'll know where I'm coming from. So I'll make it quick. Okay. And this is what I wrote. I realized I am a special creation of God. The sun, the moon, and the stars revolve around me. That I am here, right now, in this point in time learning this, and it is important that I know this. I know that this is the Holy Spirit confirming that God is mindful of man, that he knows every hair on my head, that he owns the sides of the north, and there is no other God before him. No aliens, no space brothers to baptize. Mankind is the pinnacle of his creation, made in his image and likeness. And we are not zooming through space, a speck of coalesced dust by accident. We have a purpose. We have a reason, and I believe God is putting this out there to gather his children closer to his heart. That we who may have felt, maybe he's outside, he's distant, or he's unconcerned with the brokenness of this world, that's not the truth. And at this time, I think he's reaching out to the ones who call themselves orphans, who have been disillusioned with the world systems and their authority, feeling abandoned or broken by the trust, we held in these systems. And I think, he's calling us back, letting us know that this is his world, on a foundation with four corners, covered by an impenetrable dome.
Yeah. It's interesting
and he'll transform us one day.
Amen. I was talking with Matt Boylan, who he believes in the infinite plane idea, that it just beyond, if you climb up over the top of the coastline of Antarctica and you keep going, that you'll eventually reach another world, another circle. He doesn't believe in the dome, and I was trying to tell him, like, dude, for me, being a biblical literalist, being a biblical, not just a biblical literalist, but a historical literalist, when I look at the ancient record, numerous ancient cultures had this understanding of the firmament, and they depicted it in different ways. But, I mean, the ancient record is just, it's loaded with this idea that we're under the dome. But I got to thinking, I said, but you know what? I'm going to entertain his idea of the infinite plane idea with more circles, because one of his comments was, well, then you got a really small God. And I said, well, no, I mean, this is still a pretty impressive circle. But who's to say there's not another domed circle next door to us? What if when it's, and I haven't looked into this yet, this is just a random thought that popped in my head, but I was thinking,
what if all the heavens are layered? What if they're all?
Well,
I was
thinking that
domes on top of domes on top of layers.
Well, I don't think they're on top, but side by side maybe. But whatever the case, Scripture says that Jesus says, "I'm going to prepare, in my Father's house are many mansions." Now, again, I haven't looked this up yet. So, does the word mean mansion as in a rich person's house, or does it just mean a fancy dwelling place? I haven't looked into it yet. But if it just simply means a fancy dwelling place, then in God's house there may be lots of terrariums out there. We can't get to them because we're in the impenetrable dome that we're contained in, and they're in their domes. But I have no problem believing that there could be more than one. But like you said, for this particular one that we do know about, he is a lot closer in this model, and just looking down on us. If we take the Scriptures exactly for what it says, literally, then he's up there. I believe what we call Polaris may just be the opening to his peephole looking down.
I believe that. I do. I believe that. I believe that it's very possible that this terrarium that we're in, this is the old Earth, and when he changes it and it goes into the new Earth, this one's going to go on lockdown. and we're gonna, we're gonna transcend it. He's gonna transform his children, and we're gonna go through, and the bad guys aren't, and that includes the NASA monkeys.
At
least the ones that are pulling the strings.
It was somebody gave me an acronym for it. It was something like New American Space Apes or something like that. I don't remember what it was. NASA, but they're full of crap. If that last video is true, they just exposed them. They shot themselves in the foot and exposed themselves big time with that last video, as far as I'm concerned.
I had put something up on your page once before. Also, if you take a good look at Pluto, all the stuff that we got back from Pluto.
I know.
I look at Pluto, and I see this big heart on it, and then I see images of our, or whatever you want to call them, these renditions of the moon, and I compared it to what they did with Pluto. And I said, gee, with a little bit of shading, a little bit of coloring here and there, lightening this, darkening that, it looks just like the moon.
Yeah.
It looks just like the moon. I'm sorry, but do side by side. And I encourage people out there listening to this to do the research too. I looked at it and I said, no way. They shot themselves in the foot twice.
Oh, well, and three times if you count the latest blue marble. When you turn it upside down and the clouds are spelling sex. It's like, come on.
Right, yeah. And I do think that they're laughing. And I do think that they think that we're not on to them. And I think we're at a very, very unique time in history. All of us being guided. And it's not just, your work is incredible. There are a lot of good researchers out there doing a lot of other things. But there's a mass movement of the Holy Spirit on God's people. And I think the most amazing part about that is people that never really considered themselves good enough, or I'm not holy enough, or I don't get on my knees and pray every day, blah, blah, blah. They're getting the same intuitions. They're getting the same awakenings. That in and of itself should prove to people that God is reaching out, that He's instructing, that He's guiding, that He's providing leadership, and He does want to talk, and He does want you to understand. He's in control. He's got it under control, and that's a big thing, especially coming up with September 23rd. I crossed something the other day in 2 Chronicles, verse 7:10, and it actually mentions in Scripture on the 20th day, the 20th and 3rd day of the 7th month of September, all of Israel came into God's with a light heart, and everybody was happy and everything was good. And I keep putting it out there, and I just want to remind people, He's got it in His hands, this earth that He created, and we are the pinnacle of His creation, and He does care, and He does love us. He really does. And thank God for men like you out there, not afraid.
Well, thank you.
And I know you're taking a heck of a beating. I know you are. You and your wife, and all of us feel for you. We really do. We really, really
thank
do.
You.
And
along those lines, I want to publicly thank you and many others that reached out to us on Facebook and elsewhere in emails and stuff, and who contributed financially as well. I have to say,
mine's in the mail, by the way.
Oh, well, checks in the mail.
It's coming.
Well, thank you. I'm serious. We were hurting bad, and
I know.
We're underneath another ministry called Mountain Movers. We are not a 501c3, but for people who want to get tax deductions, we went ahead and went underneath another one. So if people contribute to us to the nonprofit side of it, they get the tax deduction. But we've been having a draw from our balance for a number of years now, where we get like $2,500 a month, which basically pays our rent and car payments and most of our bills. And
right.
I got my we've been used to that regular $2,500 a month coming off of our balance that we've had for a number of years. And then I got my last balance sheet, and it's like Oh, that last check you got? Oh, by the way, that's the last one. So we're like.
Well, I mean, you could spend a whole nother show on the whole monetary system. Forget it. No. It's slavery to begin with. So
it sure is.
What you're going through and getting beat up with is exactly what Satan wants from you. He wants you weak. He wants you defeated. He wants you to give up. And I'm telling you, from personal experience and being uplifted by what you guys are doing, don't you dare quit. Don't do it.
I learned the last time I can't. And as long as I have people out there praying for us and uplifting us and helping,
and sending you financially, yes, I'll say it. You can't say it, I'll say it. Yes, put your money where your mouth is, people.
Thank you. I don't like talking about that kind of stuff. But it's true. And so thank you again. Thank you. It's like, to me, the words "thank you" are just not enough. But it's the best I can do.
They are.
I don't have any other words, but truly, sincerely, thank you.
I know it helps. Okay, we'll get on to your next people, and keep up the good work. And you're always in our prayers. And thank you so much for getting your knees scraped so we don't have to.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And we got time for a few more here. Okay. Thanks for calling. And I'm going to try, let's see here, area code 310663. Hello?
That's me, Rob. How are you,
Who's
Rob?
this? I'm good. Who's this?
Bowling Brett Newman Forrest from your Facebook.
Oh, very cool. How are you?
How are you, man?
Well,
pretty good. I'm at a truck stop taking a shower in Tulsa.
Oh, yeah? I got you in the shower?
No, I'm outside, but I've been listening. I saw the thing on Facebook to call into the show, and I thought, all right, well, I'm going to do that because I feel led to do it, and I'm glad I did. I don't know if you remember, a lot of my comments from Facebook, but the thing on the flat earth killed me, dude. I have seen, a lot of UFOs all over the country and been through some pretty wild expeditions, and now I'm thinking, and the earth's flat too,
Yeah, what else? What else can we throw on it?
I looked at the the scriptures, and there's also the scripture a lot of people want to argue right off the bat about the angels stood in the four corners of the earth. Well, how do you stand in corners in a round bubble?
Right.
And all these other things, and from being in Hawaii and being in LA and the Palisades in LA, and seeing the white orb ships that Adonai flies around, his angels are flying in those ships, compared to the triangle-shaped ones I saw in Hawaii and L.A. and a mechanical resonance ship I saw fly out of the side of a cliff in Maui that I was very familiar with. They had the United States Surfing Championship there. I've been there many times. And I'm like, dude, there's no road down there. And this thing came out, and I had military binoculars on it. And I know I wasn't hallucinating because, it looked like it's 60 feet away. So I'm thinking, all right, it's all Book of Enoch stuff, Book of Enoch. And then walking around the Hawaiian Islands, I started seeing very tall people, 7-foot-tall, supermodel-looking girls, and no one seemed to be shocked by them. And then I saw an 8-foot guy, another 8-foot guy, and when I left the airport to get out of there, another 8-foot guy is walking through the airport as I'm telling a lady who's kind of maybe was backsliding a little bit about it, and she's like not believing me. And I'm sitting in the terminal, and you could see him walking by in the window. And I saw it, and she's facing me. And I go, look, there's one now. And she's like, yeah, funny. And she looked in the window and saw this 8-foot human being, very healthy looking. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, Nephilim children all over this island, man, because I saw a lot of UFO activity there. And so, I saw things come in from the top of Maui, just like here in Tulsa. The claim is it's the center of the universe here. They just had a big Center of the Universe festival, some kind of mathematical thing, I don't know. But we've seen a lot of ships here. I'm here recording an album with my drummer, and we've seen a lot of stuff here. So I went through all that, and then checking into, checking into people like you and Tom Horn and all that. Then I start seeing you talking about the flat Earth, and I'm thinking, well, you know what? I know there's portals because I've seen ships come in from the sky straight up a lot of times and not from side angles, and there must be a reason they're coming straight down. You know, and whether the Earth is flat underneath, I assume it is, but, you know, I'm one of the people that watched the rocket to amateur rocket into space. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a video out there, and I know you had some discrepancies with it because of where the sun was at and the time, that it might not have been shot on that day. I have seen the sun out of place so many times. Our recording studio, the sun sets in the same place my drummers had the studio for 10 years, and it's not setting in the same place anymore. It's moved over, and, you know, that's kind of bizarre. And so we started looking into it and the shadowing of, you know, the flat Earth model, how the sun would be going and stuff. And, you know, it started making sense to me, man. I mean, it's just like, you know, I think a lot of people, I heard you, one of your guests earlier, it sounded like you were pretty familiar with them, like you'd spoken before. They were like, well, you know, a lot of people don't want to hear that, and they're older preachers and things that don't want to hear that. But, I mean, it's in the scripture, man, and once you see it, like I tell all my friends who think I'm nuts because I've seen all these, you know, spacecraft and tall beings and stuff, human beings, you know, I say, look, man, you can think that all you want, but when you see it with your own eyes, there are no more normal days. Those days end. You have to start realizing there's other things out there.
Well, truth is stranger than fiction these days, that's for sure.
When I was in Los Angeles mountains at 7,000 feet, a giant red one flew over, and I'm thinking, we're up there trying to film UFOs and comets because it was the Lyra's meteor shower time in June. Didn't see nothing, man. NASA gave all the wrong numbers. Up there for 2 weeks doing nothing, basically. I'm telling my friends I'm ready to leave. I'm going home tomorrow. I'm tired of this. Just about that time, I'm looking down at the lights of L.A., 63 miles out, 7,000 feet below me. And I look back over my shoulders, an 80-foot canyon wall, and I just decided to look back the other way, and I see this red orb fly over, and I mean, it looked as big as the moon, definitely out of the stratosphere, but close to the Earth. And I flipped out. I mean, I was like, oh, man. And then my second thought was, is the magnitude of propulsion coming by, we better get down because it looks close, and it could bring the mountain down. You know, it looked like a big object. And basically, at that same moment, I hear this giant rumbling, and I mean, they're flying low, 100 feet over. It's 2 Chinook helicopters flying out of the mountain, trying to, you know, I guess observe it because there's no way they could catch it. And I mean, it rumbling for a second. I thought, you know, that was the magnitude of the object because, you know, now I know they're mostly quiet. But so, you know, we got really scared, you know, really excited, and we're like, oh, man, did you see that? What do we do? And then I'm like thinking, okay, well, those helicopters are military. They must have known it's flying by. They're already in the air. And at that moment, another big rumble comes out the mountain. And whatever kind of jet it was, whether it was a F-22 or a new 35, it was loud. It was a stealth. It was the loudest stealth I ever heard. But it was pitch black and no lights on. And it zoomed past us and shook the mountain, and we couldn't even see it. We thought that was the magnitude. Now we're really going to die. You know, this is all happened in like 90 seconds. And it went from where we were standing past the lights of L.A., you know, you could see, like, it in the darkness as it got closer to the city, you could actually see it with no lights on, and it went all the way from there into past the city. It took it about 2 or 3 seconds. I don't know what type of aircraft it was, but it was not a quiet engine.
So have you got video of any of this?
I don't have videos of any of that because the cameras were aimed at downtown L.A. and the orb went completely to the left of it, more in I think a southeasterly direction. Our cameras weren't even aimed in the right direction, and it's so fast you couldn't get it. But here in Tulsa, I did film some stuff outside of our studios here. They have tornadoes here a lot, Tornado Alley, and there were giant purple. I posted on Facebook, giant purple, it looked like portals opening, Rob. I mean, really, that's all I can equivalent to. And they had these massive tornadoes pop up out of nowhere, and the sky is just really wild looking. I know you don't let people post videos, I think, on your page. I don't think I can do that or whatever, but it's definitely on my page. I can put you a note in Facebook if you think
send me a message. I like to check out some of these. I only got about 20 minutes left. I want to get to a few people before we get off the air here, but
I know,
send me a private.
And I just want to say your teachings have woken me up. And at first they scared the hell out of me, especially about the Nephilim and all that, and now I've seen humans over 7 and 8 feet tall, and I'm talking 40 or 50 of them, and I have no doubt, the teachings that you're doing are correct. And the UFO and the flat earth thing, if people don't want to believe it, well, that's fine, because when you start seeing things with your eyes, which is coming up, you will not be able to deny it.
Well, should be interesting. Thanks for calling, buddy.
All right, sir.
All right, man. Thanks for calling. Send me a private message on Facebook. All right.
Yeah, I don't use the Messenger, but programs, but I'll send you a note inside of one of your columns on there, telling you where my page is and about the portal video we filmed.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. All right, man.
All right, man. Thanks for calling.
God bless.
And let's see. Blessings. And let's see here. 319-458. Who do I have here?
Hi, this is Colleen.
Colleen.
Can you hear me? This is Colleen, yes. Hi, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Didn't think I'd be talking to you today, but here we are. So I just wanted to tell you about 6 weeks ago, I listened to a video of you on YouTube where you're being interviewed by some man, and it's like a split screen on Skype or something. And I told my husband, I said, would you please have a look at what Rob's recent thing from Rob Skiba, someone we both respect. And he was pretty mad at me for a couple days until he watched it. Then he came and sat down next to me and said, "Oh, please forgive me. I should have listened before coming to a conclusion." And
yeah, it's a knee-jerk reaction. As soon as you say it, like everybody just goes crazy, like instantly, just wacko.
Right. So I found out a day or two after you had quit, and it was pretty sad. But at the same time, we didn't know everything that went into your decision making. But we're very glad to have you back. I want to tell you thank you. And just today, I told the first person who was not my husband about this whole thing, and a friend from church who's known me for a while. And I knew after a while she didn't think I was completely nuts because she actually had some questions. If you get someone they start asking questions, then
if you get that far.
I told her, I said, if I had to put the solar system and the globe in court, I would have a shred of doubt I could not convict it for being a globe,
Yeah.
And so, I thought if you're out there telling people, I should start telling somebody what it, and it does. And when we've compared that to Scripture and the whole, how could Satan use this to deceive people? When I said that to her, that made her think, okay, I can look at it in that angle. That doesn't make me crazy if I think about it in that angle. And I said, if I can come up with... That was the thing for me, too,
is that's a pretty big, because there was what's the motivation? And they're always thinking, what's the motivation for the government or for NASA? But you got to go beyond that. You got to go to the original motivation, which is Luciferian.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so it's pretty much rocked my world. I was dreaming about the moon phases the other night, and I started trying to look for video of the moon in between the stages, like a time lapse. Like, where does it change? Over the ocean? And and how come when it goes through the sky at night, why don't you see any shadow changes at all? Last night I was out taking pictures every hour or so. I'm like, I just have got to see it. And I was taking pictures of the sun through my husband's welding helmet, the other day, because I wanted to see, does it really get smaller when it goes to the horizon? And
well, it doesn't.
I haven't been
because of the atmosphere. The atmosphere acts like a magnifying glass, and see, you have the same problem on a globe. Because all the globalists out there are like, wow, the proof that the flat earthers are crazy is the sun gets bigger when it goes down. When it goes down, and it's like, well, you got the same exact problem on the globe model. How does the sun on a spinning heliocentric globe? How does the sun all of a sudden magically get bigger? You have the exact same problem. With either way, whether you're talking about a spinning heliocentric globe or a flat geocentric Earth, the sun, as soon as it starts getting lower into the atmosphere, you're getting a magnet, not a magnet, but a magnifying glass effect. The atmosphere is acting like a magnifier. But I bet you, and you're cracking me up because I know there's a lot of people out there doing this now. None of us have paid any attention to this. At least I didn't. I never paid any attention to this stuff. But now, like the last few days, it's in a cycle again where the sun and moon are up at the same time, and I can watch this. If I get to work and go to, I'm in a really nice office complex, and they have like a 5 or 6 tier parking garage, and you can go to the roof. And so when I drive up to the roof, right about 8 o'clock or so at night, now that's when I can catch the sun going down, and you see the sun going down in the west, and almost directly overhead is the moon. And we're told the moon is reflecting the light of the sun, but the problem is if you look at where the sun is and then you look at the moon, there's no way you're going to get that shadow from that angle. No way. And in fact, it's going to. I believe right now it's heading towards a full moon, if I'm not mistaken. And then after the full moon, it'll start waning. And when you see that, you're going to notice then, when after the full moon stage, you'll see the sun going down in the west, and the moon will probably still be visible, but the light side of the moon will be facing east.
Right.
So you're like, that doesn't make any sense. How is it get lit from the opposite side if it's reflecting the sun?
Well,
and if you can see both of them at the same time.
Right. Yeah. And I also thought, whatever the moon is, I'm like, could it be reflectionary but not a conductor? Like, it's whatever it is. Could it be like a pumice stone that doesn't conduct heat but reflects heat? I thought.
I'm really not convinced it's a reflector at all. Just because the light coming off of it is totally different from the sun's light. It's a cold light. It's not a warm light. It's a different frequency. It has a totally different effect on living organisms than what the sun does, and the angles are all wrong. That's what got me. I mean, as an artist, I'm looking at this thing going, well, from that angle, there's no way you should have that shadow. With the sun right there and the moon right there, no way, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I've never paid attention to any of these things till 4 or 5 months ago.
Well, I saw a video where the guy had a time lapse, or a person, I don't know if it was a woman, but he had a time lapse of the moon and how it moves with the stars. So that was a wild
I just
video
saw that
for me.
Okay, that was really wild. Yeah, it was.
Oh, wow, yeah. And my kids and I, we love looking at the stars. It's something we've done every year. We get out in August and look at the meteor shower. And, okay, we looked at that in a totally new light this year. And we thought, they are not coming from the horizon. No matter where you are, they come from up high. And I'm very curious to know what you would think about what meteorites or what falling stars would be. And sometimes my husband, we feel like, is the sky blue because it is blue, you know, and is it falling apart and coming down? But if it's burning up? I looked at the layers of the atmosphere and the temperatures, and it just doesn't make sense where they say they would burn up compared to where they say like the space station is.
I was talking with Rick Hummer about this the other day because I haven't finished this study yet, but I got pretty far into it initially through the scriptures and the Book of Enoch. It tells you point blank that stars are angels. They're a class of angels called the luminaries. They are sentient beings that are told to march in a specific pattern and hold their courses, accordingly. And so that being the case, I was for a long time when I first got interested in this whole subject, I had a really big problem trying to figure out what are meteors and comets and stuff. And then I realized, if if they're just angels that are on a course, because you have the various meteor showers that come at different times of the year, and they come every year, same time, same time frame.
Right.
They're probably just angelic chips patrol. Dun, 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 dun. They're doing their patrol. They're just on patrol, and they're in a squadron, and they're just making their rounds. And maybe every now and then. Some of them are dropping into the atmosphere, or maybe they're fallen angels, or who knows. But I mean, if I'm taking a biblical literalist view, then it's an explanation that works for me. Is that really the case? I don't know. I don't know whether it is or isn't. But I mean, if they are sentient beings, then it just seems to me they're on patrol.
Mm-hmm. Now,
whereas
was
other
it you
ones
who
have
talked about it?
A set pattern they have to march in.
Yeah, was it you who talked about it? I've been watching so many. I feel like it's been quite overwhelming to me. It's been so attractive to want to see as much as I can about it. But comparing angels to plasma, I don't remember where I saw it on YouTube somewhere. But
that wasn't.
Did you talk about that, or that wasn't you?
No, that wasn't me.
Okay. Well, someone took a picture of plasma. I'm sorry, what?
That's the only thing I've been doing on angels is trying to figure out if angels are stars, and I'm pretty at least from a biblical perspective they are. But I'm not aware of the plasma thing.
Well, when you take a picture of plasma, it looks like a universe. It looks like a small universe, and so when they supposedly looked at the stars and they said, "Oh, these aren't stars. Each one is a universe," then it just made sense. Is that I wish I could remember who it was, but anyway, you'll probably find it.
Yeah. Well, I've been out of it for a few weeks now, and I started a series with Johnny Cerrucci that I want to finish. There's probably 4 or 5 more interviews I want to do with him, and then I'll get back. I've got to do some. I haven't done anything on seed in like 4 months. Totally. Well, I can't really say that because all of this is going to play into seed one way or another. Either whatever direction I fall in this whole debate, I'm going to use all of it for seed because if nothing else, it makes for fantastic science fiction plot lines and stuff.
Right.
But I do need to get back in the saddle again, and I got to get a lot of work done. But
well, you've had a lot going on.
It's never ending. Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for dealing with all the negativity. I mean, I every one of us has our own little areas where that happens to us, but yours happened on a more public scale. But I'm glad that you're back. My kids are glad that you're back. My one son, my oldest son, he wanted me to call you so bad. I didn't think I'd be up so late, but he'll want me to tell you hi from my son. So.
Oh, well, cool.
But,
tell him hello.
Well, yeah, well, thanks. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you. My husband, Steve, and I, we really appreciate what you do, and just wanted to be an encouragement to you at all. So thank you.
Well, you definitely have. Thank you so much. Thanks for calling.
All right. You're welcome.
All right.
Thanks. Good night. Bye-bye.
Okay, good night. And I think I have time for, one more call. And then we'll call it quits here. So, let's see, area code 941747. Who do I have here?
Nancy. It's been a long time.
Nancy.
Hey, Rob. First, I want to say I'm really sorry about Shayla's dad. That was just heartbreaking, and just want to say I'm really sorry, and I'm just really glad that you guys had that last time with him, and I just found out a friend of mine passed away yesterday, which was also in filmmaking. He did all the film on a movie that we did called Angel, and had some blood clots on his lungs, and was only 27 years old. So
27. Wow.
Yeah, it really took us all back because I mean we did this film on no budget, a zero budget. So it was incredible. It brought all these people that had no idea about each other together. And we were just all amazed the way we clicked and the way we worked together. So it's a great project. So I'm always encouraging on seed. I don't want you to leave that on the back burner. But like you said, every walk you go through, you're going to end up using that. So that's a great thing, and I do want to encourage you on that. I love the star thing. I agree with you. I've been studying my friend Kat, and I've never met her in person, and she out of the blue had ordered me a Sefer, and it's got the Book of Enoch in it, the Book of Jubilees, which I'm just barely
somebody did that, and I really feel bad because I lost the address of the person who sent it to me. But if they're listening, if you sent me a Sefer, thank you. That's like, I mean, that thing's huge. First of all, I mean, this thing's like.
So someone just sent you one
like
too,
6 inches thick.
That's great.
It wasn't,
Kat wasn't going to tell me either, and it came in her name though, and that's how I knew that she was the one. But she said, she was like, it was like Yahuwah was just like, she needs this book. Nancy needs you to get this book for her right now. And then she said, well, I don't have her address. And the next day when our house was sold, as you know, I've kind of been touching on there that we've been going through a move, and we're having to fix up a house that's been, for the last 10 years empty, so you can't even imagine what we're having to go through. But luckily we're going to have a roof over our head. But it was so weird because she said she had no intentions of doing it, but I had put the sale of her house up, which had my address on it. And then she said it was like, I was just like, okay, now you have our address. Get that book to her. And that book has been such a blessing. It never leaves me. I mean, everywhere I go, that book comes with me, and it's huge, like you said. But it's huge. Totally awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm
so
glad you have one too.
Yeah. Again, I don't remember who sent it to me, but if they're listening, thank you. It's awesome. But so how has this flat Earth thing affected you?
Oh, well, I have children. As you know, I have an 18-year-old, I have a 17-year-old, and I have a 10-year-old. First of all, my 10-year-old he's virtual schooled. He is not doubting it at all like the others do. He is making reasonable judgments on it. Because we do virtual school, we're going to be able to incorporate that a lot into our science. And so my other kids, Brandy, my daughter, is dating an atheist. And they're always challenging. So it's sort of like she'll call me up and she'll like, Mom, look at the moon. And she'll go, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I blow her out of the water every time because of you. So all these things, she comes back at me. But, they're going to have their doubts, but they're listening. The seed is planted. And, but, you get a lot of rebuttal. But I'm the kind of person, it's so many things that you feel and you questioned when you were younger. My father was born in 1888, and one of the first things that I can tell you he said when he saw the whole man on the moon thing was that it was a total hoax. Yeah. And he really was like this, and my mom, but he was also a Mason. He was a master Mason as well. So, and I got to tell you that the Dr. Lake thing, you had Dr. Lake's wife on with you on the phone.
Yeah.
And I listened to that show, and my son overdosed the next day, and he's my firstborn son. And I literally yelled out that prayer against the generational curses, and I wouldn't have known what to even say. And after 9.5 minutes, he finally took a gurgle and a breath. And it was rough, but it was weird that I listened to that show the night before, and I had this just like, get out of him, get away from him, and it was unbelievable. And, he should have had brain damage. That's horrible to say, but you know what I'm saying? Being gone that long, you would think he would have had some permanent damage or something, but he didn't. So wow. I just, like I said, I call him Abba all the time, but Abba just has perfect timing in every single thing, and we become crybabies sometimes. We stomp our feet, and we act like the Israelites with Moses, and I see it when it's easy to read it and say those stupid people, but when it's us, then it's like that's a humility stage that we have to go through. We got to go back and go, look at all the stuff. I had such little faith. How stupid am I, And I know that we all go through those things, but I'll tell you, I think it keeps us in check, and sometimes with each other, right? But I think I think the flat Earth thing is there's something to it. Do I think it's completely flat? I love some of the models that you guys are coming up with. I talked to a lady that did a study, and I don't think she's in your. She may or may not even know you, but I belong to a couple of the other flat Earth groups because you want to see a broad picture of what everybody's doing. And she lived in my neck of the woods and did a video of this ship that went underneath Sunshine Skyway, and she had this really awesome zoom lens, and it had a red bottom to the ship, and it just floored me. It just totally floored me when she did it. But we've talked, and we've actually talked about doing some experiments together. So, that's how I am on it. But Rob, I've always been the kind of person I'm not afraid to say how I feel or what I think, and for the most part, I don't need anyone's approval. Because I'll turn around and say, hey, if I make a mistake, I'll turn around and say, hey, I was stupid, about this, but I had to find out for myself. I have a cousin that lives with me, and he spent 3 years in the Navy, and he's very stubborn, very hard-headed, and he walks out of the room if I even begin to discuss it. But and sometimes I'm like, I haven't decided everything just yet, but I can't prove that the Earth is a globe. And now he's kind of like, well, I don't care if it's a square or a pineapple or, but he's now not walking out of the room. But some people just shake their head.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, if they'll take one day, that's it, just one day, to honestly look into it, you're done after that. I mean, you can't not continue. You have to keep going. Oh wow, I got 90 seconds before the show's about to cancel. I just got the little voice in my head. Well, I guess I gotta have to call it a show. But wow, thanks for calling in, and everybody, thanks for calling in also. And I just one more time, I want to be sure I thank everybody from the bottom of my heart. Sheila and I both thank you for your love, your prayers, your support. It means more to us than we have words to express. Thank you. The words thank you don't seem to be good enough, but that's all the time we have for this broadcast tonight. Hopefully we'll have time to do this again in the future. I'd like to do some more call-ins. This is fun, but thank you for listening to the Revolutionary Radio Project. We'll see you back next time. Good night, everybody.